SFUSD will provide closed captioning and American Sign Language ASL interpreter services throughout today's board meeting. Live transcription can be found here. https://www.streamtext.net/player !event =SFUSD dashboard. Attendees who wish to provide public comment to the board and would like an ASL interpreter can use the Q&A box in the Zoom app to type their name or handle and list the item or items on the agenda they would like to comment on. The attendee will need to have a functioning camera in order to communicate with the interpreter and the board. When it is the attendee's opportunity to provide comment, the Zoom host will promote the attendee to panelists and enable the attendee's video. Translation, go ahead, please.
Thank you. SFUSD is offering interpretation services in Spanish and Cantonese. If you need interpretation, please dial the following phone number. After dialing, please introduce the PIN number. This message will be repeated in Spanish and Cantonese. Buenas tardes. El Distrito Escolar Unificado de San Francisco ofrece servicios de interpretación en el idioma español. Si necesita interpretación por medio de Google Meet, por favor, marque el siguiente número telefónico, seguido de la clave de acceso. 1-319-382-9676. Por favor, introduzca la clave 665-996-976, seguido de la tecla numeral. Gracias. Cantonese interpreter, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the interpretation first? Slide, and I will announce the number. 大家好，歡迎大家參加今晚我哋教委會嘅會議。三藩市聯合校區為今晚嘅會議提供免費嘅西班牙文同埋粵語嘅傳譯服務。如果邊位需要我哋嘅服務，麻煩你致電去1484-854-3328。然後請輸入密碼721-609-895井字。多謝你。Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes translation services.
Okay, thank you for that. We will reconvene to open session now, and I will read the readout from a closed session, and we will vote on the remaining items we have. I move approval of the stipulated expulsion agreement of one high school student, matter number 2022-2023- number 22, with suspended enforcement from the date of the Board of Education expulsion order from 4/12/2012 to 4/11/2024. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Steele.
Thank you. Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy? Commissioner Sanchez? Vice President Wiseman Ward?
Yes.
President Bogus?
Yes.
5 ayes.
Now I move the approval of the stipulated expulsion agreement of one middle school student for the year 2022 through 2023, number 23, with suspended enforcement through 4/11/2024. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Steele.
Commissioner Alexander?
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy? Commissioner Sanchez? Vice President Wiseman Ward?
Yes.
President Bogus?
Yes.
5 ayes.
Now I move approval of the expulsion agreement of one high school student for 2022-2023, number 24, from the district for the remainder of the spring semester 2023, suspended enforcement of the expulsion for fall 2023. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Steele?
Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy, Commissioner Sanchez, Vice President Wiseman Ward,
Yes.
President Bogus.
Yes.
Five ayes.
Now I move approval of the stipulated expulsion agreement of one middle school student, 2022-2023, number 25, with suspended enforcement from the district from the date of the Board of Education expulsion order 4/12/23 to 4/11/23. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Steele?
Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy, Commissioner Sanchez, Vice President Wiseman Ward,
Yes.
President Bogus.
Yes.
Five ayes.
And now I move agreement of the stipulated expulsion agreement of one middle school student for the year 2022-2023, number 26, with suspended enforcement from the district for the remainder of the spring semester 2023 and the fall 2023 semester. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy, Commissioner Sanchez, Vice President Wiseman Ward,
Yes.
President Bogus.
Yes.
Five ayes.
Thank you. Now I will read the report from closed session. In two matters of anticipated litigation, the board gave direction to general counsel. In the matter of LWT versus SFUSD WCAB number ADJ 12973-156, the board by a vote of 5 yeses with 2 members absent gives authority of the district to pay up to the stipulated amount. In the matter of AC versus SFUSD, Superior Court number CGC 22-5999236, the board by a vote of 5 yeses, 2 members absent, give the authority of the district to pay the stipulated amount. In the matter of UESF versus SFUSD, the board by a vote of 5 yeses with 2 absences gives the authority of the district to pay up to the stipulated amount. In the matter of student AB versus SFUSD OAH number 2023-020065, the board by a vote of 4 yeses, 2 absent, 1 abstaining, gives the authority of the district to pay up to the stipulated amount. In the matter of KC versus SFUSD, Superior Court number CGC 22-60111, the board by a vote of 5 yeses with 2 absent gives the authority of the district to pay the stipulated amount. Okay, and with that, we will move back to our regular opening items. And we will start with our land acknowledgement. We, the San Francisco Board of Education, acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. As the indigenous stewards of this land and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all people who reside in their traditional territory. As guests, we recognize that we benefit from living and working on their traditional homeland. We wish to pay our respects by acknowledging the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush community and by affirming their sovereign right as First Peoples. Now we'll move to our second item, which is approval of board minutes. And we are approving the board minutes for the regular board meeting of March 7th, March 4th, and the special meeting of March 14th and March 27th.
So moved.
Can I get a second as well?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Thank you. Commissioner Alexander,
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy, Commissioner Sanchez, Vice President Wiseman Ward,
Yes.
President Bogus,
Yes.
5 ayes.
Okay, thank you for that. And with that, we will go to the superintendent's report. One thing I did want to highlight for folks today is that we're going to be doing public comment a little different than normal. We're actually having the public comment happen in the beginning of the meeting for all agenda items as well as non-agenda items versus being able to give public comment on each item. There'll be a block of time in the beginning. So if you do have public comment cards, please get those in soon because public comment will happen in the beginning. But if you're giving public comment during the public hearing, which we're going to have during this board meeting, there will be a separate public comment for that item during that item. So that is very complicated, but if you fill out a form with what you want to provide public comment on, we will let you know the appropriate time to give comment, and we will let folks know during the meeting.
We're not doing comments after, like, for example, after the CSA's presentation, we're not giving folks an opportunity to respond to that in public comment?
We are not. People will have the opportunity to respond to that during the public comment time that we have at the beginning.
I object to that, frankly. I don't know what the appropriate procedure is to, right now but I strenuously, we have very few opportunities where the public can provide feedback to the leadership team right now. This is one of the few. I strenuously object to that.
Definitely we'll document your rejection of that idea and frustration with it. I think we will plan to proceed with it moving forward. And I will have a conversation, I think, with you offline so we can kind of address it moving forward. It is something that we're trying for this meeting versus making it a formal practice, but we definitely, I will follow up with the rest of the board with the concerns.
And just to clarify, so maybe it isn't clear, the way there is going to be public comment on items not on the agenda, correct? Governor Bogus, President Bogus, public comments on items not on the agenda. Then there's public comments on items on the agenda. So someone can submit to make a public comment about the CSA's presentation, say, correct?
Correct.
They will be making it, though, not after the presentation, which is when we typically have it, but they can make it, and the materials have been online and they've gotten to see what we're presenting. Right. So there's those two. So, and I think some of the idea is to give the public an opportunity to comment on agenda items. Also, then it's earlier in the meeting, which is something we've heard feedback about. And so that's where I think board leadership has talked about, let's try some different ways to get that comment and respond to what we're hearing while also focusing on our business at hand. So they will be able to comment on that, though.
Thank you for that clarification. I think that helps. And it still doesn't necessarily address the fact that there are very often things that come up in the staff presentations that the public would like to comment on. You can't see everything from an 18-slide presentation, but when you hear the context behind it that the staff provides, I think that leads to a more authentic dialogue than front loading. I really do think it's important to recognize that there have been people who have come and wanted to comment earlier. So thank you for this. I'm not understanding why it's not a yes and, though, especially until, we are moving forward with town halls. We are doing a lot to do better public engagement, but I don't think we're there yet.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Fisher. And I definitely will direct additional comments to me after the board meeting. If the public has thoughts as well, to direct them to us so we can kind of perfect this as we continue to move forward and figure out the best way to have the public provide comment and give input on what we're doing. And I think with that, we'll transition to the superintendent's report. And then after that, we'll have the student delegates report and we'll move from there. Superintendent?
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to start off with sharing what Commissioner Fisher referred to, our upcoming town halls. So we've been working hard on the LCAP development and working to align our LCAP to our new vision, values, goals, and guardrails. And as part of that process, we want to make sure we're talking with our community. There's been various forums for people to be engaged, but we wanted to have a place where people can come and share their ideas and where we, meaning the governance team, can listen and engage in the conversation. And so we have various opportunities. Are we getting the presentation up?
Her screen share is failing right now.
Okay.
We do co-host, so if you wanted to pull it up, that would be.
If I do it on the Zoom?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So I want people to see when this is happening. So hold on a second. Let me go
The
to,
ability now to share.
I need
Yours
to,
is failing.
I need to get in the Zoom though first, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Giving a fail, like a failed message.
Okay, let's see here. Okay. Great. I won't be able to see my notes as well, but okay. So yeah, so we'll have we have 6 upcoming meetings and I'll be at the meetings as well as various commissioners. As a reminder, they can't be more than they can't have a majority of them together when we're talking about school business like that. And the first one is coming up this Saturday at 10:30 in the morning at Jefferson Elementary. We've been sending this out through various forums. If you want to know more, just check out our website and our calendar and you'll see it. But excited for these conversations with our community. Okay. Oh, wait, I got it. And then I can just do that there. Okay, we're also pleased to celebrate the rich and diverse culture and contributions of our Arab American population. We do that all year long, but especially during the month of April. It's Arab American Heritage Month, and we've been working a lot with our community and making sure we're sharing information about this month and the different ways that the Arab American community celebrates their days of cultural significance and the contributions they've made to us. So we're excited about the activities happening this month. Also we've had a lot of discussions about school safety at our schools. And, do want to note that there are serious issues that we're facing in our schools and that we've seen happen recently. And we're working hard both in school and outside of schools because they're happening outside of school as well to make sure we're supporting our students and staff so that they're safe, but also getting the tools and resources they need so that when issues come up, they don't escalate and can be resolved in the appropriate way, the way we expect kids to resolve problems, not in the way we've seen that has sometimes been happening lately. But I will say, I make a point to go out to our schools and I like to do drop-in visits too, just to see what's it like in our schools, not with the planned visit where they know the superintendent's coming and can roll out the red carpet, but just do, just roll up like I did on a Friday in second period at Balboa and just go in and say, hi, I'm here to visit and see, are there kids in the halls wandering around? What's the administration doing? What lessons are happening? And got to see administration meets weekly and we went and got to visit some classrooms, got to see their amazing wellness center, hear about the supports that are there for students, meet students, and sometimes, and I share this because sometimes I think I don't want to minimize the real issues we're facing, but sometimes it doesn't match up with the reality that I think many of our students, staff, and families experience on a daily basis in our schools. And so similarly, I went to, Denman and it's right nearby. So I just popped over there. And same thing, and got to visit classrooms and got to meet their T10, who's doing an amazing job keeping the school safe, is welcoming. And so just wanted to share that we are, we're collaborating with the city. We have weekly meetings with them about what's going on inside of schools and outside of schools. Again, I want to recognize that in our schools, there's the leadership there, and our teachers and staff are doing great work with our students to keep them safe. Also got to see our students showcase their learning in our Career Technical Education Showcase on Thursday, April 6th. I mean, listen to this afternoon. I got to see student performances, see students dancing, got to play a video game that was designed by students, got to learn, do CPR on a dummy that a student taught me the updated way of doing CPR. I learned there's new techniques that we have now. Got to eat a little croissant that students made, and just the talents of our students and the amazing programs we're offering in our schools was so neat to see. And so really appreciate this showcase and encourage you to learn more about our career pathways and our career technical education that's happening at our high schools. And then we get to celebrate our arts as well in our citywide youth arts festival. And it's going on for a couple weeks, and there's a one-day event on April 15th. So excited to see our students showcase their art skills as well. And then lastly, this is also Pride Month, and SFUSD really takes pride in its support of the LGBTQ IA plus community. When I started in the district, I got to learn about the steps we take, and actually we are recognized for our work around curriculum in the schools. And so, again, this is something that we take pride in April and all year long. At the same time, I've heard and heard recently from our community about the need to demonstrate even more that commitment and make sure we're following through on commitments we've made to make sure that our students are safe and have a place to go if there's an issue, and that issues are being responded to. So while we are proud of the work we've done, we also recognize there's more work to do in this area. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent. And with that, we will go to our student delegates report.
The SAC is very excited, excuse me, about our youth summit coming up in a few weeks on Friday, April 28th at Fort Mason. We're inviting student leaders from all SFUSD high schools to attend this day-long event where we'll have a resource fair, workshops about effective leadership and social issues like climate change, and of course, a student delegate debate. We will also welcome speakers such as Mayor London Breed and students who've had a large impact on their high school communities and SFUSD as a whole. Additionally, a couple of weeks ago, the SAC began accepting candidacy declarations for the student delegate election. If you are interested in running, fill out this quick interest form, which you can find at tinyurl.com/studentdelegate2023. tinyurl.com/studentdelegate2023, or on the SAC Instagram at SFUSD-SAC. As a candidate, you will be required to attend one of 2 mandatory info meetings taking place virtually this Thursday and Friday. And if you cannot make either one of these meetings, please let us know through the form. Finally, I am happy to share that multiple SAC members have signed up to be a part of the Social Studies Department's effort to select new and updated curriculum, as well as other educational materials to be piloted next year. We are glad that the district is taking an effort to include a variety of stakeholders, including students, in this process. Thank you.
And can you just explain, why is your colleague absent tonight?
Yeah, so my co-student delegate, Isabella, I think I'm going to wait to let her announce where she's going.
Right. Okay.
But she is doing a college visit to the college where she committed for the next 4 years. So that's why she's not here tonight.
Yeah. Thank you. You're right. We shouldn't see it, but just so proud of her. And she's usually here. So just wanted to, it was for a very good reason that she's not, but we'll let her announce where she's visiting when she comes back.
Thank you so much, student delegate. And with that, we will go on to our rave awards, and I will pass it to the superintendent.
Thank you. We have 2 rave awards tonight to present, and I'm going to bring up the presenter of the first one, our Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Schools and Interim Head of Pre-K 8 Schools, Demetris Rice Mitchell.
Good evening. So excited to do this. Good evening, Commissioners, President Bogus. Excited to present this rave award. Principal Manning has so much love for her entire school community. When you spend time at Carver, you know it's a special place for students, staff, and families and alumni. Thanks to Principal Manning's amazing leadership and her care for the school. Principal Manning is student-centered and fearless. She is a passionate educator and always happy to share any updates from Carver within the community to help showcase the beauty and the brilliance of her school community. During Parent-Teacher-Student Conference last fall, she made sure that each student received a personalized and tailored home learning kit. This was a part of Carver's pitch plan, and it helped to encourage families to spend at least 30 minutes a day using the learning materials in the kits, including books, flashcards, games, and other materials that push students towards their learning goals. As a result of her instructional leadership and guidance, the benchmark data that was used, we saw an increase from window 1 to window 2 by 14% in her school community. I'm happy to bring up Principal Michaela Manning. We did not plan these outfits, but she does look mighty cute.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Superintendent Wayne and Mrs. Rice Mitchell, for this recognition and honor. I'm here this evening with a tremendous amount of gratitude, and I would just like to name some folks who have played a role in this accomplishment. First, my parents, who I think are on Zoom. Thank you for supporting and cheerleading my aspirations to be an educator. Also, thank you to my siblings and cousins who allowed me to be the teacher and the principal every time we played school. I'd also like to acknowledge all of my colleagues. UASF is here. And fellow school leaders. It's not easy being a school leader right now, right? So I thank all of you for inspiring and motivating the motivation that we give each other every day. Finally, I would like to thank the staff, students, and families of Dr. George Washington Carver Academic Elementary School. Families, thank you for choosing us to be your child's second family. Students, achievers, thank you for showing up in your brilliance, curiosity, and creativity every day. And finally, to my team at Carver, thank you for trusting me to lead us through a global pandemic and toward incredible gains over the last few years. Our community is something special, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. Thank you.
Yeah. Miss Manning, if you can come. Yeah, we're going to come up to give you your award. And I just want to say too, you're one of the schools where I've popped in and done a visit and been a few times. Just really appreciate the community you've created there and your focus on academics and on each and every child at your school. So thank you.
Thank you. Sure you get that pen in there, okay?
Get in the middle.
Yeah, here, come over.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, for our second rave award, I'd like to bring up Joshua Davidson, head cook of from Student Nutrition Services.
I am so excited that Mina has won a rave award. I gotta say, so I'm Josh Davidson. I'm the chef at the McAteer Kitchen. We serve Soda, Academy at McAteer, and the standalone pre-K schools around San Francisco. And Mina's been on my team since back before we joined Student Nutrition. And we do great food and student nutrition. We strongly believe in nourishing the whole child. And where Mina stands out, and you will see this when you will come to McAteer, you will eat in our cafeteria, and you will see at mealtime, Mina is the star of the show. Kids come to school to see Mina in the morning. They come on time to classes because they want to stop in and get a meal and say hi to Mina. It's the most amazing thing, and it's so wonderful. And like, I'm a food guy, right? I like, people are great, but I'm most at home, with my hands in a bowl of ingredients, tossing things together, buzzers going off, running around, all that kind of thing. But the people are so important to building a school community, to nourishing, to creating an atmosphere of love and joy that brings people in and keeps them together, especially when we have very challenging times all around. And so, sorry, I'm just so excited about this. I've never been nervous at this podium before. A 1,000 thank yous to Mina. Erminia Benitez, you do such wonderful things for our kids. Thank you so much. I couldn't be more excited to present this award.
Thank you, Joshua. I'm kind of nervous, okay? But I just want everyone to know that the kids, when I come to work in the morning, I come there for the kids. I love seeing their beautiful faces, their smiles, and it's a joy seeing these children every day for breakfast and for lunch. I'm not just in there feeding them. I'm out there talking to them, encouraging them. Matter of fact, I will be presenting them with at graduation, I will be presenting them with their diplomas. I did it last semester. So the kids was like, we want you to come and present us with our diplomas. I love it. I'm going to be retiring in like 3 or 4 more years, I guess, but I love it. Demetrius Rice knows because when her 2 children were at Presidio daycare centers, I was there for 17 and a half years. I came to the kitchen in 2014, but I love the kids. And like they say, it takes a village to raise kids. And I give each and every one of those kids my undivided attention, and they all know that. And I'm so happy that they nominated me. But just know, parents, when your kids come, and if your kids are going to be coming to the School of the Arts or Academy, I will be giving them that mommy love, okay? Okay, I love the children. I love their smiles. I love their energy. I love everything about them. And like I always tell my coworkers, hey, these kids up here at high school, they are getting ready to be adults and they will remember you. You treat them with love and respect and they will give it back. Matter of fact, one of the kids told me last Friday, he was like, Mina, I just started working, and he's working over at Sweets Ice Cream Parlor on Valencia Street. And I asked him what he was doing. He said he was a cashier. And I said, are you meeting and greeting the customers when they came in? He said, Mina, I'm emulating you. And I thank you for that. So just know that I love the kids. They're my babies, okay? And I want to thank every one of them who's looking, that I appreciate them recognizing me.
Was pretty good for somebody. What kind of?
I know. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Here you go. I'm gonna move over a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. Got it? Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you to our award winners, and nominees and presenters and everyone for their patience. I now open the public hearing on initial proposals for the San Francisco Unified School District to the United Administrators of San Francisco and from UASF to SFUSD. I'm going to call on the Superintendent Wayne to introduce the designee.
Thank you. So please note, we are now entering a public meeting as part of the process of sunshining proposals for negotiations. Both the union and the district are obligated to first initially share the proposals with the public. This was done at our last meeting, and then provide an opportunity for comment at a public hearing. That's what we're doing right now. And then the board in consent accepts our proposals, the ones that we will then be sharing with UA in the negotiation process. This needs to be done before negotiations may commence. And so we're now in the public hearing phase. And so really it's a time for the public to comment on either UASF's sunshine proposal to the district or SFUSD's sunshine proposal to UASF. So I believe we have some UASF partners here. And so we can hear from them now.
Okay, thank you. We have 9 cards for here in person. So I'm gonna call your name. I'll just call the first 5 and you can come line up at the podium and you'll each have 1 minute to speak. Anna Clafter. Woo. Kate Walter. Kate Walter. Claudia Anderson. Myra Quadros. And Ellen Wong.
Ready?
You good?
Hi, colleagues. Good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm Anna Clafter. I'm a high school principal and director for UASF. Longtime listener, first time speaker. I just want to say effective principals and effective school leaders are the key to a school's stability and success. Just like our teachers, school leaders are leaving San Francisco for many of the higher paying districts throughout the Bay Area. A city like San Francisco should be offering competitive salaries to recruit and retain the best administrators. How can we be a first-class city with a last place wage? Our students and our communities deserve the best. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kate Walter, principal at Grattan Elementary, and I'm reading this excerpt, this anonymous excerpt of a testimonial from one of our bargaining unit members. And I want to note that several of our bargaining unit members do not feel comfortable speaking in front of the board. Please know that Empower has made every aspect of our job harder. With all the open positions, we spend so much of our time substituting in classrooms, which, to be honest, I love because I love being with the kids, but unfortunately, my real job doesn't get done when I'm substituting. Because of this, I am having to spend hours in the evening and on weekends doing the work I would have done if I hadn't been subbing. Lack of correct pay and benefits causes staff to be unable to get their personal and medical needs met, resulting in more absences, and the cycle repeats over and over. It simply isn't sustainable for administrators. Our UASF bargaining team will be seeking better protections for our members' working conditions. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Claudia Anderson, and I'm one of the co-executive directors of United Administrators. And I'm also reading an excerpt of a testimonial from one of our central office bargaining unit members. And I echo that same concern that at least in the past, there's been a culture of fear among administrators of speaking out publicly. We hope that is not the case moving forward. This person stated, at the beginning of the Empower rollout, I raised concerns during training about how central office administrators' calendars worked and how it didn't seem to fit with the timekeeping system that had been set up. I was assured it would all work. As requested, I entered my holiday days during December as non-service days with pay. However, it resulted in me not getting over half of my normal paycheck. After over 3 weeks with no response, I filed a grievance through the union, which The grievance was sustained. The district did not pay what they owed me for another month. In the meantime, I had overdrafts on my checking account and late fees. I charged bills to my credit cards and had to borrow money from relatives to pay my rent and expenses. This is unacceptable. Not one person in SFUSD should have their financial quality of life threatened due to not getting paid. I am supposed to be getting my late fees back with interest, as promised, both in my grievance filing and in an MOU. Well, that was back in February of last year, and still nothing. Our UASF bargaining team will be seeking better protection for our members' working conditions. Thank you.
Congrats, Michaela. Hello, Dr. Wang, commissioners, student delegates, Mr. Steele. My name is Myra Quadros, and this is my 20th year in SFUSD. I'm currently the proud principal of New Traditions Elementary School. I'm up here with UASF because the working conditions are rough. I spent most of the school year with no non-classroom support help. I did not have a social worker until 6 days ago, and our RTIF was reassigned. I've been working 50 to 60 hours a week, every week, and no one can sustain this workload, especially without extra compensation. I love this district. I still have a long career in this district, and I want to help. Come by to New Traditions anytime, call or text me. I'm ready to partner with any of you to make this district better. UASF is not asking for unreasonable requests. Please do the right thing and not only listen, but act. Also, while I have you, I personally still have 2 outstanding Empower tickets from February 2022. If anyone would ever want to follow up on this sometime this year. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Wong, one of the co-executive directors, and I'm reading this excerpt of a testimonial from one of our bargaining unit members. On a daily basis, I am covering classes throughout the day, yet I'm still expected to do my administrative job of completing reports, presentations, and evaluations. Subbing in classrooms does not allow me the time to observe in classrooms and to provide ongoing feedback as an instructional leader, a main responsibility of a principal. Teachers not receiving timely feedback does not serve our students. Instruction cannot improve without ongoing feedback. Subbing in classrooms does not allow me to spend quality time during work hours on completing my evaluation reports with thoughtful detail, as well as creating presentations for staff PDs and parent meetings. If the teacher substitute pool continues to be lacking, I'd like to see time given back to me in the form of release time that would allow me to complete my presentations, reports, and evaluations so that I'm not spending my evenings and weekends doing this work. So our bargaining unit team will be seeking better protection for our members and appropriate compensation. Thank you.
Thank you. I will do final 4, Claudio Delarios Moran and Dr. Luis Rodriguez, Rafael Picasso, and then Michael Essien. You can step on up.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Claudia Delarios Moran. I'm the principal of Buena Vista Horace Mann K-8 Community School. And I'm reading this excerpt of a testimonial from one of our bargaining unit members. They state, for those of us who were admin before the pandemic hit and are still administrators, we've carried the weight of this state of emergency that has not let up. At our school site, we aren't seeing the systems at a central level to support us with real behavior issues and attendance. It feels like it all falls on individual sites to figure it out. I appreciate our cohort of administrators and lead team for their support, but that alone is not enough. I want to be clear. My job has never been easy, and my school site has always faced many challenges. But within the last 2 years, I've experienced a decline in my own health and well-being. It's also impacting my ability to take care of my own children and family. I can no longer rely solely on my why or my deep love of the community I support. It's not sustainable. I don't have all the solutions, but I do believe that both classified and certificated SFUSD employees need a raise that reflects the job responsibilities and the high cost of living in this city. I know that additionally, we need financial incentives to stay at the hard to staff schools. We need a unified approach to systems and dealing with issues at our sites so that we can focus on teaching and learning. Administrators at school sites need defined work hours and need compensation for the time we put in on the weekends, at nights, over the summer, and on holiday breaks.
Thank you.
I hope that our stories and advocacy result in real changes that will keep us serving our students who need us the most. This is an example of untenable working conditions and compensation that our bargaining team plans to address in our new contract.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners and Superintendent Wayne. My name is Dr. Luis Rodriguez, proud principal of Aptos Middle School and Vice President of United Administrators of San Francisco. And my statement is also an excerpt from a testimonial of one of our unit members. It's a little bit long, so be patient, please. They state, I love my students. They are quirky, mostly sweet, and curious about the world around them. I learn from them every day. I worry about them. I care about them. I love my staff. They are committed to the kids. They support each other, and they mostly have a positive attitude. I learn from them every day. I worry about them. I care about them. But I hate parts of my job. The conditions of my job prevent me from using my leadership skills. The conditions of my job make it nearly impossible to effectively support teachers for better outcomes for kids. As of April 7, 2023, I have covered 134 classes, and sometimes covering a class is the best part of my day. However, the demand of covering classes really means that I can't do my actual job. I reschedule and ultimately cancel meetings with department chairs. I am an ineffective instructional coach because I can't get into classrooms for observations. I am unable to push into classes with teachers who have specifically asked me for their support. One more sentence. I reschedule and ultimately cancel meetings with my secretary who needs help with Empower. I work every Saturday and Sunday. We need better working conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael. Before you go real quick, we did have two additional speakers. It's gonna be Norma Hernandez and Oscar James, I think. So they'll go before Michael. And then go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rafael Picasso. I am SCIU Local 1021 Chapter President for the school district. I am here in solidarity with the United Administrators and the hard work that I've learned that they do. Never really had a good understanding until I met Michael and working with the unions of SFUSD and labor relations. During the pandemic, we all got together and we were able to open up safety protocols, open up our schools, get our schools up and running, but we couldn't have done it if we didn't act like adults and work together. All our unions work together. United Administrators, the work that you guys do really do need to be appreciated. You guys take on so much and you do so much for the kids, your employees, the difficulties you guys have to deal with. Believe me, I met with some of you guys and some of my members, but it's respect. And when it comes to respect, it's paying them what they're worth. And they're worth way more than what you're paying them today. Just like all the other classifications in the school district that is underpaid. We need to retain employees. We're short in every department and every division. We need to pay our employees so we can keep our quality workers here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hi, everyone. I am one of the assistant principals over at Balboa. Thank you, Dr. Wayne, for coming over and visiting us. That was really important for our community to be able to see you and connect with our community. To the board, I grew up in San Francisco. I am an SFUSD kid growing up, and now I am an educator. I just really want to make sure that I communicate this to you all. Living in San Francisco is really hard. I grew up in the projects. If there's no money to pay for rent and food, you can't make it. It's really, really hard. I need you to all really understand that everyone here that has showed up and who haven't showed up is really overworked and underpaid. We need the board and you, Dr. Wayne, to really think about how you're going to raise that salary for all your educators here. If we don't have that, it is really, really going to be a hard thing for everybody. And the ones who are going to have a really tougher time is our students and our society as a whole.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Oscar James. I'm a native resident of San Francisco all my life, 77 years. I went to San Francisco public schools, and I have grandkids and great grandkids in the public schools right now. Your staff, these teachers deserve to be paid more than what they're getting paid right now. It's a shame. I work construction. I also work I retired from the San Francisco Redevelopment Agency, but I made more money than the teachers make. And I have no college degrees. I did a couple of semesters in college, but like I said, I make more money than they did. Now, these people, excuse me for saying peoples, go to school, they go to college. They have money that they have to pay back for going to college, and still they make less money than what I made. It's a shame for them to get educated, to educate our kids who are our future. If they don't teach them, what are they going to be doing? You know, we have a problem now with most of the people that come out of San Francisco public schools can't read and a lot of other things, but it's not the teacher's fault. You need to give the teachers more money.
Thank you.
You would need to give us more money. So that, thank you very much.
Put these out the way. I need these for driving officially. All right, good evening, President Kevin Bogus, student representatives, the commissioners, and Superintendent Dr. Wayne. I'm Michael Essien, President of UASF. Today I stand before you to share the value of UASF to SFUSD. Our members take the theory from the board, the superintendent, and the very central office departments and turn them into day-to-day actions. UASF is the bridge between theory and practice. When we talk about the district's vision, values, goals, and guardrails, what we're discussing are the improvements in the learning environment for students and improvements in their behavioral and academic outcomes. Those improvements reside in how UASF members, supervisors, and site leaders choose to implement the vision, values, goals, and guardrails based upon the uniqueness of each site. Schools have changed as evidenced by the increased demands on sites. Those increased demands change the working condition for supervisors and site leaders. In a world-class city, the pace should reflect the demands placed on our UASF members. If we want to improve outcomes for African-American, Pacific Islander, special education students, and English language learners, then the pay of those responsible for the delivery of direct services to students must increase. We can't be a first-class city with last-place wages. You can't work for less, it ain't worth the stress. We want respect, RESPECT, which means competitive compensation. In conclusion, we look forward to partnering with the superintendent in meeting and exceeding the vision, value, goals, and guardrails of the district. Thank you for your service and commitment to the students and families of San Francisco, RESPECT. Got to drive home.
Right on. President Bogus, that concludes public comment in person.
Can we see if we have any virtual public comment?
At this time, we'll be taking virtual public comment. Please raise your hand if you care to share public comment. Each speaker will have 1 minute. Can we have that repeated in Spanish and Chinese?
Buenas tardes, por favor levante su mano si desea hacer un comentario público. Los comentarios públicos están solamente a 1 minuto por persona. Gracias.
大家好，而家係網上嘅公眾發表意見嘅時段。如果邊位想發表意見，麻煩你喺我哋嘅熒屏嗰度舉手。每位發言者有1分鐘嘅時間發言。多謝你 ，Thank you。
Thank you. I'm currently seeing 7 hands raised.
And I think we just want to remind the people who've raised their hands that this public comment is exclusively for the public hearing. If you have public comment on other items, please save those comments for later.
Seeing 5 hands raised. Okay, so I will call those 5 names. Magdalena, Miss Wendy, Chris, Miss Marshall, Melissa. Again, that's Magdalena, Wendy, Chris, Miss Marshall, and Melissa. Miss Wendy, go ahead, please.
President Bogus, Board Commissioner, Dr. Wayne, my name is Wendy McSpadden, and I am a paraeducator at Diane Feinstein. We are respectfully and desperately requiring that SFUSD allocates a certain fund, that SFUSD allocates certain funded assistant principal to support all DEFS students, and especially our students in the SOAR program, their families, and the extraordinary, staff who have experienced, the staff who experience trauma and still come to work every day. Diane Feinstein Elementary School has struggled to keep all students and staff safe as we support our students with IEPs, specifically our students in the SOAR classroom. As you know, our school is one of only 2 schools in SFUSD that has a special day class for students identified as having emotional disturbance and eligible for the special education services in the SOAR classroom. Due to,
Thank you, Miss Wendy. That is your time. We do want to have.
Due to lack of staffing, 2 other schools who had SOAR programs closed this year. As a result.
Ms. Wendy, that's your time. Thank you so much for your comment.
Thank you. Chris?
Yes. So my name's, okay, thank you. Hi, my name's Chris and my child attends Groton. My family and my child have been significantly impacted by lack of paraeducator staff at our school. My child does not receive the services they are legally owed. My family has had to keep my child out of school in concern for their safety due to lack of staff and substitutes. I believe we need to pay our paraeducators a competitive wage and in full support of UESF's proposal for para raises. Also, I'd also like to talk about for the superintendent, when you dropped into various schools and you had fun people watching them make video games and eating a croissant baked and dancing. Did you stop at any of the special ed classes? The kids who need help, the ones that need opportunities to learn, to be kept safe, the support that they need so they can excel. You can tell who's happy and who's getting a check versus the teachers who are waiting for their money. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. And then gentle reminder, we are taking public comment on the public hearing that we just had. So again, this is the time that we will hear. Please share your public comment on the public hearing. If you want to share your public comment on another item, that will happen later in the agenda.
And just to clarify, if you want to provide public comment on the agreement, the initial proposals for the school district and the United Administrators of San Francisco. So that's the collective bargaining unit that the public comment should be in relation to, which is a little bit different than the teachers union.
Sama?
Yeah, I wanted to second the last speaker. I'm a parent at Buena Vista Horace Mann SFUSD Public School. And I'm really dismayed by how SFUSD is treating our most vulnerable of our children, special needs children, by not investing in paraeducators. And I really urge you to make sure that they are being paid a fair wage for what they do. They do extra work just to make sure that our special needs kids get the care they need and the education they deserve. It's an equity issue. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Alfredo?
Sí, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Alfredo Ruiz Márquez, de la escuela primaria Grattan. Tengo una hija de 9 años que cursa el 4º grado y tiene un IEP bajo la elegibilidad de discapacidad intelectual. Ella es una mariposa social y le gusta ir a la escuela todos los días. Amamos a nuestra comunidad escolar y maestros y sabemos que están haciendo lo mejor que pueden para apoyar a las necesidades de mi hija. Sin embargo,
Señor
Ya.
Alfredo, ¿puedes parar un momento para yo poder interpretar?
sí,
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Alfredo Luis Márquez. Soy un padre de Grattan. Tengo una, I'm sorry. My name is Alfredo Luis Márquez. I am from Grattan Elementary School. I have a
Margarita.
child who is 9 years old.
Excuse me. Just as yes, I believe you're just speaking Spanish to Spanish. Could, translate Spanish to English, please.
Yeah, I'm interpreting now in English. I have a child who is 9 years old. She's in the 4th grade, and she has an IEP due to an intellectual discapacity. She's a social butterfly. She loves going to school every day, and I really appreciate the teachers who I know are doing their best to help us out. Por favor, señor Alfredo, continúe.
y sabemos que están haciendo lo mejor que pueden para apoyar las necesidades de mi hija. Sin embargo, uno de los servicios de mi hija en su IEP es recibir apoyo para educadores son 1,295 minutos a la semana. Sin embargo, mi hija no está recibiendo ninguno de estos minutos. ¿Quiere que pare?
Señor Alfredo, ¿cuántos minutos recibe la niña? ¿195?
Ella está elegible para 1,295.
¿Al mes?
A la semana. A la semana.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, and my daughter, I know the teachers are doing everything they can to support the needs of my daughter. She is eligible through her IEP for 1,295 minutes a week for services with a paraprofessional, but we're not receiving this. ¿Puede continuar, señor Alfredo?
Sí, a los que tiene derecho debido a la falta de personal para educador. El Distrito Escolar Unificado de San Francisco está luchando para cubrir los puestos de asistente de educador.
I know that she is not receiving these minutes because there is a lack of paraprofessionals to support the services that she needs. I know the San Francisco Unified School District is doing everything to cover these positions that they haven't been able to cover. Continúe, señor Alfredo.
Sí. creo que esta falta de compromiso del San Francisco USD del distrito con nuestra población más vulnerable, lo que incluye no pagarles a los auxiliares de educación un salario más alto.
And I think this reflects a lack of a commitment from the San Francisco Unified School District with our population, a population that is the most disadvantaged and most vulnerable. And they're doing this by not paying a comparable salary for the paraprofessionals and the teachers' assistants that they need to be able to provide these services. Continúe, señor Alfredo.
El salario que se me para
I'm
pagarles
sorry
el
to
salario.
have to interrupt. I'm sorry to have to interrupt. That is the time, and we do want to allow for other people to be able to share their public comment.
Lo siento, señor Alfredo, tenemos que interrumpir porque tenemos que darle tiempo a otras personas para poder hacer sus comentarios también. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias a
Thank
usted.
Just want to remind public commenters as we reach the end of this public comment that if you aren't speaking about the initial proposals between SFUSD and the United Administrators of San Francisco, not to be confused with the United Educators of San Francisco. If you are not speaking on topic, I am going to let you know that you're going to need to wait to provide your public comment. So please, if you are going to speak to it, please let us know earlier, else you'll hear me interrupting you as we continue.
Thank you. Ms. Marshall?
Thank you so much. To President Bogus, Vice President Wiseman Ward, Board of Commissioners, Superintendent Wayne, the African American community is in support of UASF and their salary requests. You can't have a functioning school with people not being paid correctly. If the administrators are paid correctly, then the teachers are paid correctly, the support staff are paid correctly, and you will have a excellent school that we need for our children. We absolutely support the president, Principal Michael S. Young, and all your work that you've done at Dr. M.L. King Middle School. And so again, we support the UASF and their request to have comparable salaries, increased salaries, and they not have to be in the classroom subbing, because they're in the classroom, it takes them away from their work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Magdalena?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Magdalena de Guzman. I taught in the Filipino language program at Bessie Carmichael Filipino Education Center K-8 for 26 years. I am retired, but I will continue to advocate for a strong Filipino as a world language program at Bessie Carmichael campus. The program should expand.
I'm sorry, this
strengthen.
comment isn't related to this item. I'm going to ask if you can save your comment for the general public comment that we have coming a little bit later, please.
Thank you, President Bogus. That does conclude a virtual public comment.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you to everyone who provided public comment. Sorry for the confusion with how we're doing public comment today. It's a little bit extra different with the public hearing and where it's positioned in the meeting as well. But with that, we will continue with comments from commissioners. Are there commissioners who have comments or thoughts they'd like to add at this moment? Seeing none, any comments from the superintendent? Seeing none, we will call for a roll call vote on the staff recommendations.
No vote for this one. This was the public hearing.
My mistake. So then what I will do is I will now close the public hearing and we will return to the regular board meeting. Thank you so much. And as we return to the regular board meeting, we will begin with public comment. And so just to notate to folks again how we're doing public comment differently today. We have allocated 30 minutes for public comment for us to start. And we are asking for folks who are going to provide public comment to submit speaker cards. And if you're virtual, it would be helpful for you to raise your hand now as well, so we can document how many people we have who want to provide public comment. The way public comment will be broken up today is we will start by taking public comment from students. Then we will take public comment on non-agenda items, and then we will take public comment on agenda items. And so I don't think we have our public comments broken up by students at this time, but I think what we'll do is for folks who have submitted public comment cards in the space and our students to feel free to identify yourselves, to come forward, and we'll pull your cards and move you to the front. So if there are any SFUSD students who are here who have submitted public comment cards for public comment today, whether it's public comment on one of the items we have or public comments on something that's not on the agenda today, we're going to encourage you to come forward at this moment. And as you get to the microphone, please share your name so we can identify you. Thank you.
My name is Maya Masalka, and this is my sister Maha Masalka. And I am an 8th grader at Bessie Carmichael Filipino Education Center. I have been in the WILES program at Bessie FEC for more than 6 years. The WILES program is important to me because it helped my friends who are all born in the Philippines adjust to living in the US. An example of this is teachers speaking in Tagalog to help them understand how to solve math equations. The program also helped my friends feel less alone in this new environment, knowing that there are other people like them. Limiting the enrollment will affect incoming 4th and 5th grade students by having less students learn about their culture and language. Students who have immigrated from the Philippines may not have a chance to be in the WILES program. Combining the 4th and 5th grade WILES classes will also be harmful to both student and teacher. Teachers are already working hard, and this combo will only make it harder. They'll have to juggle between 2 curriculums, and on top of that, try and meet the different developmental needs the 2 grade levels have. Bessie Carmichael is only one of 2 schools that offers the Filipino language pathway in the US, so it's incredibly hard to find programs like these. Limiting the enrollment for the program as well as combining 2 grade levels will make it harder for the students who need the program. Please do not cap the enrollment and support the Filipino language pathway programs at Bessie Carmichael FEC. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other students today? Okay. I'm going to call 5 at a time. Please come line up. You'll have 1 minute to speak. It's 1 minute. The buzzer is not very loud, but you can see the countdown up there. All right. Joyce Espinal, Ruby Turalba, Jay Espedito, Teresa Dulalas, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing, and Eva Naredo.
Just want to remind public commenters at this time that we're asking folks to comment on non-agenda items. Is that how it's broken up, Mr. Steele?
Yes, it is. This appears to be all on the Bessie Carmichael issue, which is a non-agenda item.
As long as you separate them out, we're perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay.
We got the yellow shirts.
All right. You can go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ruby Turalba. I am a middle school parent at Bessie Carmichael Filipino Education Center, and my child was part of the Filipino World Language and Elementary School program. Many community folks, and you just heard from Maya, including myself, are here today to talk about the recent school decision to consolidate our 4th and 5th grade WILES classes. As part of the school community for the last 5 years, I've learned about and witnessed firsthand multiple times when the school has made top-down decisions to weaken or cut back Filipino language studies without involving community input or voice. This has been an ongoing struggle since the late 70s. The current decision to consolidate the 4th and 5th grade Filipino WILES classes in the next school year clearly violates one of the district's guardrails, which ensures a, quote, meaningful consultation with the parents, guardians, students, and staff who will be impacted by those decisions, unquote. Combining the fourth and fifth grade Filipino WLS classes also goes against the district's commitment to strengthening the program after the feasibility study in 2019. No consolidation to Filipino WLS. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Magandang gabi po. My name is Joyce Espanyol, and I'm a mother of two Bessie Carmichael students. One here, Emily, who's actually 6 and joined WLS program as a kindergartner. And I have a 5th grader who joined the WLS program at 4th grade. If I knew about the WLS and if the school district actually made it easy for us parents to actually move our kids to specific pathway language, I would have moved my child a little bit earlier. It was hard for me because as a mother who actually works easily 50 to 60 hours a week, it's not easy for us to come to the district to actually transfer a kid and enroll them on a pathway class. But I echo Ate Ruby's sentiment. I am very disappointed with the news that we heard as of February that our WLS program will be having a combo for fourth and fifth grade without any discussions, without any hearing any data or seeing any data as far as for us actually being at risk for losing one of our WLS programs. So I just want to highlight the importance of the WLS Filipino program for Bessie Carmichael, not only for immigrants, for incoming Filipino immigrants, but also for those who are actually born here. We actually rely on that pathway program for us to teach our kids not only the language aspect, but also the culture and the values of Filipinos that we are not able to provide them at home. So please no to consolidating 4th and 5th grade at Bessie Carmichael.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is J.S. Pedito. I'm also a parent of 2 students, Bessie Carmichael. And after hearing all this, it's my first time being here at BOA. And we're just asking really simple requests. The WLS is a really great program for my son, and I'm very proud of him. And being Filipino is the 3rd most populated in the San Francisco area. And it's really simple, our request. We're not asking for like another translator. We heard here there's Chinese translator, there's also Spanish translator, and they're coming from a different language and different population also. We could be asking for that, but WLS is really just simple, don't combine the 4th and 5th grade. And thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Okay, I'll just speak on her behalf. San Francisco is a model for the nation in welcoming immigrants and empowering communities. And we are committed to doing better on behalf of our immigrant populations. These were the words of our late San Francisco Mayor, Ed Lee, that he said in April 2014, exactly 9 years ago, when it was announced that the Filipino language is going to be one of the 3 official certified languages in San Francisco. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eva Naredo. I'm a proud parent of 2 San Francisco students, Estella here with me, who's shy, and the other one is Gabriela, who is now in high school. My family has been part of the Bessie School community for 10 years now. Both of my children attended the Filipino language pathway, or what San Francisco Unified School District term as the Filipino in World Language in Elementary School, or WLES. They've attended this program from kindergarten to 5th grade. Thanks to this language program at Bessie, my eldest daughter now, Gabriela, is in high school, and she's conversing in Filipino with her Lola, our relatives, her friends, and high school teachers. I am here today in front of you because I am tired.
For the 10 years that I have been in San Francisco, just like what my fellow parents have said to you, there's no 1 year that I have not have to speak or attend an event to fight for this language program. I am tired of the districts trying to devalue the importance of the Filipino language in our district, which, as I have already mentioned, is only one of the 2 schools in public schools in the United States. That is something we should be proud of. I am tired of the district's systematic plan to perpetuate the inequity in academic services at our public schools, serving low-income immigrant communities such as Bessie Carmichael, that's located in the South Market.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Teresa Dolalas. So Eva said 10 years. I'm 26 years. My children were originally from the Filipino Education Center Elementary School. 26 years, it's more than that. 26 years of not disrespecting our Filipino bilingual program. My children are a product of this program and they're high performers. I'm also a product of the district. One of my daughters is actually a school valedictorian. Please, I oppose to this 4th and 5th grade consolidation. And it's something that really matters to me is when community input is not being respected. Making decisions without parents and community is totally disrespectful. Yes, thank you, Superintendent. You were actually showing everything there. There's really nice activities. Please include the bilingual education program also in our district. We need transparency in this district. Please make that happen.
Thank you.
If the problem is money, please look for it, okay?
Okay, I'm going to call the next group. And a reminder, it's 1 minute each. PJ Eugenio, Charm Consolacion, Tetet Naval. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading. Jodre Sheffels, Wilson Chu. Please step to the podium. You have 1 minute each.
Good evening. My name is PJ Eugenio and I work at SOMCAN, Shadow Market Community Action Network. We support Bessie Carmichael FEC Filipino Wales program. I've worked with elementary and middle school and currently working with high school youth. And an issue that a lot of them are facing is identity, trying to find themselves. Wales not only teaches them the language, but also the culture, and those are crucial foundation to their identity. Last thing, please hear our community, because this is the future of our community that y'all are deciding on. SOMA bears the brunt of whatever the city wants to do, but the city forgets about it when it comes to resources that we deserve. We ask the Board of Education to stand with us in supporting the Bessie Carmichael FEC Filipino Wales program. We want school site control of Bessie Carmichael FEC classroom sizes in the Filipino Wales program in order to meet our community needs. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, Board of Ed. I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Charm Consolacion, and I'm the director of the Filipino Education Center Galing Bata, or Quality Children program, and an avid community supporter for the Bessie Carmichael World Language and Elementary School program for over 15 years. Filipino Wales is very important to me because this is a one of a kind, as many of the families mentioned, and it's in the whole country. Two schools only provide Filipino language, and one is being consolidated for 4th and 5th grade. And I really wish my son will also attend in the future. He's currently a 4-year-old or 3-year-old. And I think that not only will this help families that are born and raised here in the US, but completely helps and supports a lot of our immigrant youth and that deal with a lot of many mental health issues when they come here as an immigrant. And me being one of them had experienced this hardship as a 12-year-old, and I had to talk to no one to talk to in my language, and I really wish someone was there to help support me. So please do not consolidate fourth and fifth. It really will help save lives. And wanted to just share a petition with all of you that some of the parents had made, and wanted to hand it to whoever I could give to here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Teresita Naban with Soma Pilipinas, the Filipino Cultural Heritage District in the south of Market. I'm sorry. Soma Pilipinas was created to increase the visibility and celebrate the contributions of the Filipino community to prevent the displacement of Filipino residents and to develop initiatives for the Filipino community to thrive. The Soma Pilipinas CHES report was recently approved by the mayor and the Board of Supervisors in combination with several city departments. One of the key strategies is to expand access to programs teaching Filipino languages, history, and culture. What is being proposed is the exact opposite of the strategy. Filipino language programs should be expanding, not shrinking. The Filipino Wallace program is extremely important in carrying the culture, language, and well-being of Filipino students and families in San Francisco. Attempts to combine classes and cut offering is an attack on our community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jody Shuffles. I teach sixth grade math and science at Bessie Carmichael PK through 8 Filipino Education Center. And I'm here to speak in support of our community's right to have a tangible input in decisions that affect our families and students. Our community was informed without warning about this consolidation of the WLS classes. And this despite the fact that it's commonly acknowledged amongst educators that a combination grade level class does not best serve students' academic or socio-emotional needs. The students and families whom our school serves already face numerous challenges to receiving the quality of education to which they are entitled. We constantly lose resources and have to fight for our students' most fundamental needs to be met. Taking away more from us is unacceptable, much less taking it away without notice or collaboration. Our families and community stakeholders should have been and must be in the future directly consulted about such impactful decisions. We need to be allowed to maintain our current separate 4th and 5th grade WLS classes. Our success is also the success of the district, and please set us up for success, not failure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, staff, Superintendent Wayne, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you. I also want to be able to say that, you know, the families of the Bessie Carmichael has come out to fight, and I stand with them. And I did not understand the issues, but the Filipino American community is very important to San Francisco. But with that said, I'm also here in front of the board to be able to discuss middle school algebra. It's an issue that's going to be in front of this board in the near future, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get ahead of some of the issues, some of the hurdles before that's going to be before us. San Francisco has been known to be an innovation hub of around the world. The pace of technological innovation has been tremendous and provides STEM jobs to our students with the knowledge and skills to solve difficult problems and gather and evaluate evidence and make sense of information they study that they study. Mathematics is the gateway. Mathematics is a language of STEM, and algebra is the gateway of higher mathematics. I just want to encourage this board to be able to deliberate and think about the importance of 8th grade algebra. Thank you very much. I'm calling the next group: Maya Kay, Susan Wong, Rex Ridgway, excuse me, Jeff Lucas, and
This is a
Chanel
different one
Blackwell.
now. Like, I don't think, that we just got cut.
All right. Hi, my name's Maya Keshavan. I've been coming here for 10 years and I will for 10 more years if that's what it takes. My son was the last with Algebra 1 in 8th grade. Everyone took it then. From your own data, 100 students out of 2,359 failed that year. That's 4%, not 40% as previously advertised. I'm convinced somebody made a decimal point error. I've heard many times, I don't need calculus or my child didn't need calculus. Times have changed, different colleges have different requirements. It isn't equitable to prematurely close the door on an underserved 13-year-old trajectory. We need diversity in STEM. Delaying algebra was never the way to do it. Instead, you've created a have and have not pathway in public school. Every child deserves the same access, not just those with money and privilege. Also, I stand in support with the parents and the teachers. They work so hard, do so much on shoestring budgets. They deserve raises. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rex Ridgway. I would like to share a personal story about my granddaughter who was affected by moving Algebra 1 out of the 8th grade. I had to put her into a summer course that I paid for her to take an Algebra 1 class before her 9th grade. She had to repeat it at Lincoln High in the 9th grade, and she ended up doing Algebra 1 and geometry in the 9th grade. She's in the 10th grade now, taking Algebra 2. She's also taking a pre-calculus course through UC Berkeley right now, so she can take out calculus next year. She is outstanding in math. So I knew about it, I worked around it, and there's a lot of parents that are going to do the workaround because Algebra 1 has been moved to the 9th grade. Okay. 2 parents that were assigned to Lincoln because they couldn't get into Lowell asked me about Lincoln. It's a great school. Okay, they should go. And these 2 parents, after a week of consideration, got back to me and said they're concerned about the compression course and they don't like it and they're going to private school. We need to put Algebra 1 back in the 8th grade.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Susan Fong Wong. I won't repeat what Rex and Wilson said before, but since 2014, the board policy on math has plunged families into workarounds, or these students just outright could not take higher level math courses that prior year students could take. We were going backwards. We are going backwards, and it's gone on for far too long. I don't like how there's been turned a blind eye, deaf ear to 10 years worth of complaining about what's happening. And also not acknowledgement by the school district that this is what's being done. Tangible harm to our students. So now that the school district is being sued by its students, I hope you will listen. Stop continuing to violate state law, the California Math Placement Act. I urge you to act proactively to settle the lawsuit. Number 1, bring back 8th grade algebra. Obey the Math Placement Act by properly administering multiple measures of math proficiency to 9th graders. Our students deserve the best, like many of the students have said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeff Lucas, parent of a senior. The board's math placement policy, this isn't about superintendent work, this is about board work. The board's math placement policy is bad and ineffective. The policy is bad for 3 reasons. It causes the superintendent to violate guardrail 3. It causes students to repeat algebra that they have already successfully completed, and it gives advantages to students that have resources. The policy is ineffective because the math gaps that the policy was supposed to fix have not changed in 10 years. We need a new strategy. Hopefully we'll talk about it in 2 weeks at the monitoring meeting. I recommend that you fix this bad and ineffective board policy on math. We collectively own it. It's up to you to fix it. Students should have a voice in their math. Do not withhold math instruction that students are ready for and want to take. Thank you.
God, I'm nervous, but here we go.
Hi, I'm Chanel Blackwell, Mama Bear of two San Francisco Unified School District kids, 6th and 11th grade. In the fall 2014, San Francisco Unified School District banned Algebra 1 in middle school. The work that FUSD math program is based on has been thoroughly discredited and is contrary a comprehensive, well-established science. The vast majority of Stanford STEM facility rejects the work of Professor Boer, who has advised San Francisco Unified School District put Algebra 1 back in middle school. Our 6th grader prefer keeping a B average because of lack of enthusiasm. The Common Core math is the same that he studied in elementary school. We want him to be challenged. Bring back the spark, loving math again that he loves so much. We need to diversify STEM and offer all students opportunity to reach their potential goal. Restore 8th grade math.
Thank you.
Obey the California Math Placement Act, and thank you for being a service for our Cubs.
Yeah, call the next group. Eric Mendez, Selena Chu, Margaret Becker, William Patterson, Diana Valdivia, and Amy Clark.
All right, also talking about math. I'll start with some definitions for equity. The quality of being fair and impartial, a situation where everyone is treated equally. So when the Sandinistas took over my country in the name of equity or whatever, my mother got herself and me out of there. Life was hard, but her focus was education, reading, writing, and mathematics. She wanted to make sure I had all the tools to think, and she wanted to make sure I was on equal footing. So what does this have to do with us? Previous boards have been very vocal about this idea of equity, and yet our curriculum has only degraded. So when I think about what equity means, I wonder, how will our kids, what will happen to our kids when they leave the SFUSD system? I'm afraid that without a great education and the tools to think, they will face bias and favoritism against them. Inequity, the very thing I think we're supposed to be fighting against. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, oops, sorry. Hello, my name is Selena Chu, a parent of two SFUSD students. You heard in the public comment that teachers are leaving SFUSD. I'm here to tell you that many students left and still leaving every day. Please restore 8th grade algebra. More students back to SFUSD means you will have more money to pay our educators who were here earlier. We know students learn at different paces, right? So why are we not offering options for students to learn? Students left because SFUSD cannot provide the resources needed to reach their full educational potential within the public school system. Many kids are taking math courses outside of school to make up for the lack of rigorous and timely education. SFUSD is breaking the law and refusing to accept those classes for credit. Kids are forced to repeat those classes. Some already left. We face a decline in student enrollment. Please restore 8th grade algebra. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Diana Valdivia. I am a parent of two children in mod severe autism classes, and I am here to discuss about the shortage of para educators in our classrooms. I am so grateful for our school. They have been trying to do everything they can to support our children, but we do have a shortage. We have come to a state of emergencies in our classrooms with lack of para educators. I had to help my children back. They also don't have paras for them to have inclusion into general ed classes. And that is something they really need to socialize and to be more with the community. Children with autism need that. And if they're just stuck in a room with not enough para educators to help them, how are we getting through these kids? They're not getting enough support as they need to right now. They need more paras. We need higher pays for them. The city is one of the #1 cities in the whole world. Why can't we pay our para educators a livable wage to help our
Thank you.
students? I have 2 children, 2, not 1, 2 in special education, and I need the support for these children now. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Amy Clark, and I've been teaching in San Francisco for over 20 years. And I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, but I'm happy to be able to speak here tonight. I've learned a lot from all of you and all the issues that you've brought up. I'm lucky enough to be able to mainstream 2 of the students, one of whom is her son. And I also have a student in my class with an intellectual disability who is supposed to have a full-time para and does not. I can do many things, but I cannot be a full-time para and teach my class full-time. I try on a daily basis. On a daily basis, we have many paras out. That means we have to pull in volunteers to get kids met at the buses. That means our principal has been on toileting duty. We are really, honestly, one of the most blessed, amazing, financially resourced cities on the planet. And you can do better. We can do better. We're gonna do better. Thank you.
Hello, Mari Becker. I am a parent of 3 San Francisco USD elementary school students. I first want to thank each of you for your service to SFUSD, and thank you, Superintendent Wayne, for stepping into this very important job. And I want to first voice support for the proposals for pay increases for both United administrators and United educators. It's a little confusing on your agenda, but so important. And I think I speak for many parents here in the district when I express my gratitude for the commitment and passion of our teachers, our staff, our paraprofessionals, and amazing principals like Kate Walter, who is here tonight. It's hard to hear the testimonials that were read earlier, and unfortunately it reflects many of the conversations we hear from teachers and staff on site. And it's so important to show our respect for the work they do through adequate pay. The current situation of vacancies is unsustainable, and adequate pay is critical for retention, morale, and health. I want to thank you. And I also want to echo the parents earlier. I was shocked and dismayed to learn that math standards in this district are lower than the rest of the state, the rest of the Bay Area. And please take that into consideration and get our standards where they need to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Will Patterson. I'm a former resource specialist with San Francisco Unified School District. I left because the resource specialist job is just unsustainable. Just to point out a few things, we have paperwork that equals a full-time job, and then student services that equal a full-time job. It becomes 2 full-time jobs, and we take home one of them, which is the paperwork, and we do it on weekends and at night, and it's unsustainable. But I'm going to submit some things for public record. One is a 30-year history of class size and caseload monitoring in SFUSD for anyone that's interested in finding out how we got to where we are and why inclusion has disintegrated in front of us into a resource room program that doesn't work. We went from caseloads of 12 to 14 students for inclusion up to caseloads of 28. And with the 28, you should start with 24 at the beginning of the year at the max. And with the 12 to 14, we should have been starting at 10 at the max. So the parent who just spoke about her 2 children in an SDC classroom should be seeing a caseload of only 12 students for that resource, for that SDC teacher. I don't know if that is happening in that SDC class, but for those students who are mainstreaming in resource, they should not be on a caseload of 28.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'll submit those things and some other things for public record.
President Bogus, that concludes in-person public comment for non-agenda items.
Please raise your hand if you care to give if you'd like to give public comment on non-agenda items. Again, at this time, we will hear public comment on non-agenda items. Can we please have that repeated in Spanish and Chinese?
Buenas noches, por favor levante su mano si quiere hacer un comentario público. Les recordamos que los comentarios públicos son aquellos que no están dentro de la agenda. Por favor. Gracias.
大家好，而家係公眾發表意見時間。如果邊位想發表公眾意見，麻煩你舉手，多謝。
Thank you. So then are we doing? Okay. President Bogus, we have 18 hands raised right now. So
Okay, well, why don't we start with a minute apiece and we'll go from there.
So each speaker will have 1 minute. Jessica, go ahead, please.
Hi, I also have students that would like to speak. Can they have a minute after my minute? They've been waiting the whole time.
Yes, sir. President Bogus, there are students who would like to speak after this call, after Jessica. Is that fine for them to go ahead and speak? Sounds like they're on the same line. Yes, that's fine.
Okay, great. Just let me know when mine's over and I'll put them on. So I'm a parent and I'm the school site council at Diane Feinstein, and I'm continuing the comments of our para Wendy, who spoke earlier. Due to a lack of staffing at our school, due to a lack of staffing, 2 other schools who had SOAR programs closed this year. As a result, our already strained classes in our SOAR program at Diane Feinstein are filling quickly with little or no time for stabilization. Our school prides itself on welcoming each and every student and disrupting historical patterns of discrimination and marginalization. Unfortunately, the demographic makeup of our SOAR classroom demonstrates continued disproportionality of historically underserved Black and brown boys being identified by other schools across our district as eligible to receive special education services. The academic and social emotional needs of our Feinstein students in SOAR are unique and significant, stemming from trauma as early as in utero, housing instability, poverty, and vast learning and cognitive neurodiversity. Our staff is committed to following the SFUSD SOAR protocol in service of our students, specifically that SOAR offers an alternative to suspension for suspendable behavior.
That's your time.
Okay, hold on. My kids just wanted to make a comment as well. I have 2 students at Diane Feinstein. Can you guys make a comment about our assistant principal?
I think we should keep Dr. Jung because she's really good with little kids.
Thanks.
I think we should keep Dr. Jung because she's nice to us and she's really helpful.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Salwa.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Board Commissioners, Dr. Wayne, my name is Dr. Salwa Zaki. I am the principal at Diane Feinstein Elementary School. Thank you to Wendy, Jessica, and our wonderful 2 students. Unfortunately, the demographic makeup of our SOAR classrooms demonstrates continued disproportionality of historically underserved Black and brown boys identified by other schools as eligible to receive special education services. Despite our staff following SOAR protocol and safety care training, SOAR staff members are hit, kicked, spit on, bitten, cursed at, and disrespected on a daily basis. Several, including myself, have been sent to the emergency room several times. And yet we routinely work overtime to ensure bus safety, keep data collection up to date, and participate in additional training. We care deeply and unselfishly to serve our students, our most vulnerable students. We are respectfully and desperately requesting that SFUSD allocate a centrally funded assistant principal to support all DFES students, and especially our students in the SOAR program, their families, and the extraordinary staff who experience trauma.
Thank you, that's your time.
Every day.
Sam.
Hi, I'd like to speak in support of paraeducators getting a living wage. This job is vital for our students with IEPs. They help them access their education and keep them safe, but it's more than that. They help retain teachers, they calm classrooms and bring an extra love to the whole class. Paras are an important part of our community. I want SFUSD to hire parents from our community. And if you invest, it can be a perfect job for a parent who wants a job that aligns with their school. But right now, I cannot in good faith ask parents in our school to apply for the position. Please treat our community with respect. Living wages now. Sainthood employment strategy in SPED has to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. David? David?
My name is David Margulies. I am from a high SED district outside of SFUSD that has been adversely affected by SFUSD's misrepresented claims of success with removing Algebra 1 from 8th grade. We know that the STEM community in an open letter clearly explained the importance of offering Algebra 1 in 8th grade. We know the United States Department of Education clearly explained the importance of offering Algebra 1 in 8th grade. We know our state math standards on page 58 recommend offering Algebra 1 in 8th grade and clearly state in Appendix A, quote, all students who are ready for rigorous high school mathematics in 8th grade should take such courses, that is Algebra 1, and that all middle schools should offer this opportunity to their students. All you have done in these past 8 years is prove why these recommendations exist. Put Algebra 1 back in 8th grade. Thank you.
Thank you. H. Kelly?
Hi, my name is Hava Kelly, and I'm putting on my special education CAC hat for tonight. I really wanted to emphasize a few things. First, paras, again, they need more pay, but also all our special education support staff needs more support, resources. From what I can understand, everybody is stretched to the limits and it's impacting everything. So we just need to find a solution. It's not sustainable. The second thing is somewhere down the line, I don't know if I can talk about agenda items at this time or if I'm supposed to come back.
This is the time for non-agenda items.
Okay, so do I hang up and then raise my hand again, or how does that work? I apologize. Can this not be a part of my time?
Yeah, so you will raise your hand again.
Okay, thank you. The second thing is I just want to talk personally about my son. He has multiple learning disabilities. He's a special ed student, but the one area he thrives in is math. That is his area where he shines. So I don't want to speak from the same vein that I've heard before. I support it, but mainly because there are kids out there that I'm a low-income family. We just need access to choice. And so I just want to put it from that perspective. It's a matter of choice, options, accessibility, love for learning in every which way. Not all students are the same, but that is the one area. Right. Okay, thank you. I'll hang up and call back.
Then gentle reminder, everyone will have 1 minute to speak. Anna, go ahead, please. Anna?
Hello?
Yes, Anna, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Anna and my grandson is a special education student who attends Grafton Elementary. I am concerned for my grandson's education and safety due to lack of staff and support. I hope you will agree with me that we need to raise the para educator salary. We need our kids to be in a safe, educational, and loving environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason? Jason? Betty?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Betty U. Hasker, and I have two children that attend SFUSD's Grattan Elementary School. I want to advocate for higher wages for paraeducators. Just as teachers need a more competitive pay here in our school district, so do the paras. Their roles are critical to the schools and especially to the special education classes. It is impossible for the teachers to perform their jobs well and for the students to be kept safe if the classrooms do not have the para support they need. The para's wages are lower than most jobs here in SF, yet their jobs are harder than most. Please increase their wages right away so that we may attract and retain the paras in our school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. I was worried for a sec. Hello, my name is Jason Ortega and I'm with my son Emery Ortega, or David Ortega tonight, who would like to speak after me. I'm a parent of Bessie Carmichael Elementary School, Filipino Education Center, Filipino Wellness Program for 7 years. The fourth and fifth consolidation is compromised learning. How do we strengthen the program? By setting up students and teachers for failure. Consolidation weakens the Filipino wellness at Bessie and undermines the city's goal to expand Filipino language and culture for all San Franciscans. This is a needs and equity issue. We need to protect this program. There's one of two of its kind in the whole country. This is a communication transparency issue. Making decisions without community input goes against effective decision-making for our community. Please keep the fourth and fifth Filipino wellness at Bessie Carmichael separate. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Now I pass it to my son, Emery.
Good evening, commissioners, student delegates, and Superintendent Wayne. My name is Emery David Ortega, and I am a sixth grader at Bessie Carmichael FEC. I was in the Filipino Wellness pathway for 6 years, starting kindergarten without having any classes combined. My experience was great because I had classes in my teachers in fourth grade, Mr. Halili, and fifth grade, Mr. Mingus, was able to focus on teaching us what we needed to learn in our classes. Each year in the Wellness classes at Bessie helped me learn Filipino language, culture, math, history, and building community. I wanted this experience for other Wellness students, and the decision that the capacity team made to combine the fourth and fifth grader Wellness classes is unfair because this affects Wellness students' learning and puts a lot of work on the teacher to cover all the lessons with packed classes. There are only 2 Filipino Wellness programs in the U.S. in our school district, and we must do everything to protect our programs. Please keep a strong Filipino Wellness program at Bessie and keep our fourth and fifth grade Filipino Wellness classes separate. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Tamika?
Yes, thank you. My name is Tamika, and I'm a parent of a student at Grattan Elementary School in a special day class. It is time to support the paraeducators and staff of SFUSD. It is unacceptable that our children cannot attend a school on unplanned days due to safety issues caused by a lack of staff. Free and appropriate education, I doubt that qualifies. The students in special education at times are getting glorified babysitting. To be clear, this is not because of a lack of care from our teachers and staff, but because of a lack of support from the district in hiring and retaining appropriate levels of staff. I don't want to hear special needs kids escaping from the school and getting critically injured due to the lack of coverage in order to move this issue to action. We would appreciate your commitment to change before something like that happens. Some of our students, including my nonverbal son, may not have a voice, but I do, and I sincerely hope that it was heard today. Thank you.
Thank you. Shari?
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Shari Sarinas, and I have been involved in the Filipino Wales program of the Bessie Carmichael Filipino Education Center for 17 years through my work as the program coordinator of the FEC Galing Bata program. Filipino Wales program at Bessie FEC is important to me because this language pathway program uplifts Filipino culture and language, provides our youth with numerous opportunities to explore and understand their Filipino and Filipino-American identities, and is intentional in being inclusive in learning about the diverse cultures and identities of their schoolmates. Not only will our students feel empowered in themselves, but also feel empathy for their peers and experiences different from their own. The decision to create a combo 4th and 5th grade class negatively affects the students and families we serve because it will undermine the learning and development for our rising 4th and 5th graders and limit access to learning Filipino language and culture in the school district. This is an equity issue. We need to protect a program that is only one of 2 of its kind in the whole country, especially since Filipino is certified as the city's official 3rd language. We ask the Board of Education to stand with us in supporting the Bessie FEC Filipino Wales program. We want school site control of the Bessie FEC classroom sizes in the Filipino Wales program in order to meet our community needs. No to the consolidation of classes in Filipino Wales. Thank you.
Thank you. Parents for Public Schools?
Hello. My name is Marla. I'm the Strategic Equity Enrollment Coordinator at Parents for Public Schools of San Francisco, and I'd like to comment on the consolidation of the 4th and 5th grade class. This program needs to be supported as our Filipino community is growing in San Francisco. Furthermore, consolidating a 4th and 5th grade group into one group does nothing but probably ensure the bottom line of the district's fiscal responsibilities. Otherwise, it completely hurts and damages every other aspect. And this would not happen in any other program and should much less happen with a program that already has such a small presence. Parents have reached out to us, letting us know just how much they oppose this consolidation. And as a public institution, what are your next steps in order to address the needs of the community that you are directly responsible for serving? Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer?
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I'm a former SFUSD employee, and I have a 3rd grader and a kindergartner in SFUSD. My kindergartner just received an IEP recently, and he's now being supported by a para and a special ed teacher. Before he was supported, he was hitting kids, punching and kicking kids, even hitting teachers. So since he's being supported, he's no longer doing this. And so that para that's supporting him is not only supporting him, but really she's helping the rest of the kids because they're no longer being impacted by my son's aggression. I've been a para myself, and it was the best preparation I got for becoming a teacher later. And I have recently looked into becoming a para in SFUSD, but I cannot afford to support a family of 4 in San Francisco on the current para salary. So please support paras to stay in the jobs that they love, where they're needed, by giving them a living wage. Thank you.
Thank you. Angel?
Hi. Dear the Superintendent Commissioners, we learned about the Board of Education's vision, value, goals, and guardrails as a top priority of our school district to direct everyone's work to be student-centered with a focus on learning and equity. We hope that every parent's voice in the board of meetings has the same opportunity to speak up, especially we Chinese parents, a huge yet rather invisible section. CPAC has been working diligently to deliver Chinese parents' voice and concerns, so it deserves a representation on the Board of Education. We hope that CPAC be officially recognized and it has the same representation and communication channels in the district, just like other parents' bodies such as AAPAC, Pacific Islander PAC, and ELECTIC. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lope?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. My name is Lope Yap Jr. I remind the board when making important decisions that your number one priority is student education and needs. The SFUSD math policy is falsely touted as a successful program. This current math lawsuit is strong and points out SFUSD has violated several California education codes. Given that the SFUSD has lost many recent lawsuits and spent millions of dollars in defending their weak positions with a questionable legal department, I sincerely ask you to consider to change your math policy, settle the math lawsuit, and be more physically responsible. Reminder, per the California Board of Education letter dated September 15th, 2021, quote, freeze all unrestricted general fund discretionary expenditures unless operationally necessary as determined by the district's CFO or designee, unquote.
Thank you.
Resources and money
Is your time, Lope?
better
Thank you.
spent for your
Rionda?
Good evening, Board Commissioners and Dr. Wayne. I guess I'm happy to have this additional time, but also I'm calling in tonight just to express my frustration with this new process of agenda items versus non-agenda items, and then having to try and advocate for multiple agenda items during one public comment session. I feel that's very, very disruptive to the balance that's been created thus far for parent advocates like myself who call in and are able to address particular items. We can't effectively advocate if we don't know what the presentation is. Yes, we can see the slides, but we have no idea what the narrative is going to go on until after it's been presented. So I respectfully ask you to stop trying to silence parent voice and to allow us to continue to partner by allowing us to continue to give comment in the way that we have forever. I understand that the new guardrails and such are supposed to make things better, but if this is one of those new guardrails, this is making it worse.
Thank you. Emil? Emil?
My name is Emil de Guzman, and I'm a founder of Ethnic Studies, UC Berkeley. I'm currently a Ethnic Studies professor at California State University, and bilingual bicultural education is in my field. And I go back 30 years when Bessie Carmichael was closed, and I advocate and have been engaged with the district,
Emil,
fighting tooth and nail for the resources and the teachers, and in order to be able to have our teachers, our classes really perfect their curriculum and their programs, and so we have the benefits over the years of all these young people going on into not only higher education, but also in jobs. So I'm against any kind of consolidation. And I think that there has to be engaged discussion with the community in order to be able to really come up with the kinds of solution, but no cuts. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine?
It was very good, but there was an echo. Did you notice?
Hello? Yes.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can hear. Thank you. Hi, my name is Christina Biba with Soma Pilipinas Filipino Cultural Heritage District. Soma Pilipinas is a people-centered cultural district that is committed towards developing initiatives that allow the Filipino community to thrive. This involves students and family members having the opportunity to learn and remember their roots, and for community members to feel connected to their culture and history. Our chess report that was approved by the mayor and the Board of Supervisors last year includes the following key strategies: to expand access to Filipino arts and education and strengthen programs that empower and address the health of Filipino children and youth. The Filipino Wales program is instrumental to preserving our language and cultivating a connection to our culture, which contributes to the well-being of our students and families. Attempts to combine classes and cut offerings is an attack on our community, when Filipino Wales program should really be expanding. We ask the Board of Education to stand with us in supporting the BESI FEC Filipino Wales program. We want school site control of the BESI Carmichael School FEC classroom sizes in the Filipino Wales program in order to meet our community's needs. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Brandy?
Hello, my name is Brandy Markman. I am a SFUSD parent and on the organizing team of the San Francisco Education Alliance. We are an affiliate of Our Revolution, the largest grassroots funded progressive organization in the United States. I'm speaking out in support of paraprofessionals getting a living, respectable wage. I do want also the board to be keep in mind the vast discrepancy between the rate that a lot of our consultants get paid per hour and the rate that our paraprofessionals make. So we ask that you please keep that in mind when awarding million-dollar contracts to various entities. Secondly, I'm speaking out in support of keeping the math curriculum on the San Francisco Education Alliance. We have math teachers who are our advisors, and I really hope that any decisions about our math curriculum be made and centering the voices of people who work in our classrooms and have expertise in teaching math. We don't want to turn back the clock and go backwards when our math curriculum has, despite a lot of disinformation, made benefits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to note that we're going to take about 5 more public comments, then we're going to transition off this item as we hit 30 minutes.
Ms. Marshall?
Yes, thank you so much. The African American community, we are in full support that our children know algebra and a foreign language in 8th grade or earlier. However, the math should be taught with a credentialed math teacher. We don't know what this new format is, but you please do not silence parent and community voice. And we're also in support of the paras. They need a full living wage. We are just amazed over the years how they're able to provide excellent service to our students with such little money. And lastly, I want to ring this bell. I should be there in person in honor of a great educator, Patricia Womack Clark. She is no longer with us. She loved working in the baby schools, particularly Malcolm X, Dr. Charles Drew. Her last assignment was at Longfellow Elementary School. She was a great orator and president emeritus of the San Francisco Alliance of Black School Educators. So I'm going to read in honor of my dear friend, a stellar educator who's no longer with us, Patricia Womack Clark. Ashe.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Asa?
Hi, my name is Asa. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. I hope I'm not taking the commenting period of a parent, but my name is Asa and I teach in Extensive Support Needs Autism Focused Classroom at Grattan Elementary. Currently, we have 4 vacant para positions at our school site, and we also have 2 staff out on long-term medical leave with 0 substitute coverage for them. On a daily basis, the special ed teaching team and administrative team can expect that 1 in 3 paras are not going to be at work, and the substitute coverage for our paras is increasingly rare. The lack of para support has been depleting the life force of our school, is a gentle way to put it. All of us who come to work, paras, teachers, administrators, we all attempt to fill these massive gaps left by, that's like 6 on-site adults in a school where we have 19 para positions, so 6 of those positions not being filled on a daily basis. That's a huge gap. So it's devastating also to watch the paras on my team that I've trained, that I've worked with, to put down their mind, their spirit, their bodies, to walk away with insultingly low pay, to get injured on the job, to undergo serious physical, mental strain, and survive the staffing shortage. I'm in full support, and the families in my school side are in full support of UESF's proposal for para raises. I believe that raising para wages is one of the key things we can do to increase people taking these positions and retaining staff in these roles. Thank you.
Sarah? Sarah?
Hi, can you hear me now? This is Sarah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I'm calling to express the view that we really need to put algebra back in middle school to have the availability for that. I know that there are some students that do struggle with it in middle school, but I believe the strategy for that should be to offer free summer school in the lower grades for students who are struggling in math, so that we can bring all of our students up to the level where they can succeed in algebra in 8th grade if they so desire. Not every student necessarily needs to take algebra in 8th grade or 7th grade, but the opportunity should be available. When it is not available, you are only punishing those with the least economic means who cannot afford to have those opportunities in private school, and they also can't afford to hire tutors to take approved classes in the hopes of being able to test into geometry in high school. I believe this is an equity issue. I believe the data shows that this has hurt students and only increases the opportunity gap. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lillian?
Hi, my name is Lillian Lim, and I'm a parent of student with IEP and CAC member. And we have over 100 para position opening in the district, and para play very important role for our special education student. When there's no para and no substitute, then the teacher has to fill in to support student. As a para, then the teacher is not able to teach the class, then that's really affecting the whole class from learning. And when my son's para is out and no substitute, then my son is not able to attend his general education classes, and that's affecting his learning. So para should be paid more, pay full time, so that we can recruit more para. Over 100 para position opening is not acceptable. Please do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then our final two will be Melissa and then Venus. Melissa, go ahead, please.
Excuse me, but Magdalena de Guzman, please put me in.
Hello? Yeah. Melissa, go ahead, please.
Okay, yes. My bad. My name, sorry. Hi, my name is Melissa, parent of a 4th grade student in an SDC classroom at Groton Elementary. These kids are our most vulnerable, and due to the lack of paras at our school, the staff to student ratio is not adequate to keep the students safe. The basics, let alone learn. The situation is getting worse. I've kept my kid at home some days due to understaffing. And I just want to say you are failing our students. They have a right to be safe at school and have an opportunity to learn. Hire the needed staff, pay them competitive wages, and work on retention. That's it.
Thank you. Venus, go ahead, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
How is that?
Wait a minute.
Money got it.
Period. The baby.
Hello, can you hear me?
Venus, go ahead, please.
Hi, my name is Venus, and my child attends Gretchen Elementary School, and I support the union economic proposal for parent raise. And please reconsider to allow our home ABA therapists enter the school site to support if there's not enough staff. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes.
I'm sorry, but
There was one more.
Okay.
Just before anyone goes, I will just note that there was one person who was online who we stopped from speaking previously and who we said we'd let speak during general public comment. I believe the last name is De Guzman. So I think we'll do them. Then we'll finish the in-person public comment and we'll proceed from there.
Thank you. You want me to speak now?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Magdalena De Guzman. Good evening, everyone. I taught at Bessie Carmichael for 26 years as in the Filipino language program. Before it was like when it started in the 70s, there were a lot of immigrant kids and they needed to learn the primary language, which was Filipino, and then it transformed to like a Filipino bilingual, bicultural, and it's like one third, and one third. I don't want to be technical about it. And today it is Filipino as a world language, and so this is the difference now. That we are really offering this to other diverse communities. When I was teaching, a lot of like South Asian parents would talk to me and they want their kids, in the program. And I just visited the kindergarten, Wales, Filipino Wales, and it is so diverse. It's so beautiful. They're like Cambodians, South Asians, Arab, Americans, and mixed, mixed ethnicities. So I think that's a gift, to the San Francisco as a city, San Francisco Unified School District. So no consolidation. Let's grow this. Let's expand it because it's really beautiful. I just want to say that. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.
And before we take our last public comment on this item, we wanted to excuse our student delegate as it's time for them to head out. Thank you.
You go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Hi, my name is Christina Scher, and thanks for letting me speak, even though I lost my card. I'm the parent of 2 SFUSD students, including one with an IEP at AP Giannini Middle School. Their para-staffing emergency is even more dire than Grattan Elementary's, and they have about 2/3 the paraprofessionals that they would need to be fully staffed and fully meeting all of the expectations to support the students that they have there. When our schools operate in this state of emergency, learning doesn't happen. People are just surviving the day. Sometimes they're dealing with behavior and not academic expectations. We're not serving our students. It's not okay. And you guys have the power to fix this. Do you remember when we had that dire shortage of school bus drivers? We raised the wages and the problem went away. That's what we need to do. Thank you so much.
Okay, and that will conclude public comment on non-agenda items.
We'll move on to public comment on agenda items.
Public comment on agenda items is what we have now.
Correct. All right, I do have one card for in person. It's Tara Sessa. You can step to the podium. We'll have 1 minute to speak.
Hi, sorry, this is just weird with the public comment, so I just want to just name that. I appreciate the parent who called in earlier and said that. I'm calling, I'm here actually, about CSACE. And I just want to thank all the staff and volunteers that worked on that. But I have questions, and I think a lot of them were asked in writing by commissioners, but because we didn't get to see the presentation yet, I just want to say, how are the measures going to be assessed? How are families and educators going to be informed and included moving forward? Our general education teachers and special education teachers being informed about the importance of universal design for learning to support all of our learners, what trainings and support going forward on the new curriculums to support the learning that happened during CSACE can be implemented. 10 seconds left. Okay, I also do want to say that it's important that our SELPA has a space at the cabinet because it's important for that special education voice to be heard in that main space. And I think that ties into CSACE because special education and general education tie in together. Thank you.
At this time, we'll hear public comment on any items on the agenda. Please raise your hand if you would like to share your public comment for any items on the agenda. Can we please have that repeated in Spanish and Chinese?
Buenas noches, por favor levante su mano si quiere hacer un comentario público. Los comentarios públicos ahora son parte también de la agenda. Gracias.
大家晚上好，而家我哋係網上發表意見嘅時段。如果邊位需要發表意見，麻煩喺網上舉手。多謝你。
Thank you. H. Kelly, go ahead, please.
Just want to confirm this is agenda items, yes?
Yes, this is for agenda items.
Okay. I do want to name that what other people have named. It's very difficult to make comments without seeing the presentation. So I'm just going to talk about Teach Town, which is a new contract that you're going to be voting on. I just want to provide a little bit of background and say that from what I understand, that this is the first type of comprehensive curriculum in SDC classes. It might not be the first, but it is certainly a new one. And I am very hopeful that it's effective and that it changes lives. But please progress monitor this. Please follow up on this. Please make sure that it's working for our students in SDC classes. Beyond that, I really am struggling to comment without seeing the presentation. So I would have said something about CSACE, as well as the changes in the structure of the executive teams. So just keep that in mind. It's difficult. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak again.
Thank you. Ms. Marshall?
Thank you. This new process hopefully is just for tonight. It's like paying for a fancy dinner and not eating it. Taking an airplane ride on the first class and not being able to sit in first class. You always want, I would think, to listen to the comments from the public, especially the parents. And we normally do it after each agenda item. We might not have access to a computer, might not have seen the agenda. So I don't know I don't know why you are changing the format, but I hope it's just for tonight. You cannot ever, not even allow not one parent and one community member to not have equal access. And this I think feels like not having equal access, which is not great, which is not normal, which is not right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This will be our last public commenter.
Vanessa?
Hi, good evening. I am commenting in reference to item J. My name is Vanessa. I'm the Executive Director for Parents of Public Schools of San Francisco, and we believe that together we can provide solutions to the problems that are facing our marginalized groups. I just want to emphasize what is going on with public comment, you guys. I understand the need to, hear from different voices, but it is quite challenging to engage in this process in this way. So I encourage you to kind of look at that as well. In reference to CSACE, one of the things that I think is the most important is for the district to eliminate disproportionality at large. And so we as an organization stand to interrupt systems of oppression and want to really raise this issue with you all, that we have to work a lot more diligently and adamantly so that young people, especially those who are African American, are able to be in the classroom without disruptance. Thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. Have a good evening.
Thank you. That does conclude virtual public comment for non-agenda items.
Thank you to the public and to all the public commenters. If folks do have more comments related to the public comment process, please feel free to direct those to me or board staff, and they will get those to me. And with that, we will transition to the next part of our agenda, which is item G, which is payroll state of emergency update. So we will move to G1, and I will call on the superintendent to share the update that they have.
So should I share my screen again, or I have it up? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Good evening again. Since declaring the payroll state of emergency, I've been providing regular updates at our Board of Education meetings. So I want to provide an update this meeting. At one of the most recent updates, shared, yeah, nope, hold on.
I don't know. That's like sometimes I get this thing and it just takes over me. I think her name is Veronica.
No.
Okay. I wrote like a whole different thing and I said something totally different.
Thank you. Okay, let's try that again. Hello. So in the last couple of updates, I've shared what it looks like for us to have fixed our Empower system, because that's what everybody wants, right? You hear the frustration, the ongoing frustration people have with dealing with some of the issues that arise from Empower. And so we talked about, and I shared, what does it look like when it's fixed, and identified these key indicators for success. Having fewer than 25 payroll errors per cycle, new pay-related issues are resolved within one payroll cycle. We're fully staffed and with limited reliance on outside contracted support. And I know people are eager to find out what's the date of when this is going to happen. And we haven't been able to say that because we've been trying to uncover all the root causes of these issues and put in place the plan to address them. While also dealing with the literally thousands of backlog concerns that our employees had because of issues that arose during the first year of implementation. And so what we have done, though, and what I shared back in February, was our focus for the next 90 days to start working towards that process. And we identified 3 key indicators of success: reducing the ticket backlog by half, identifying root causes and mapping out the resolution with the timeline, and filling vacancies in our business services, technology, and human resources teams. And the 90 days referred to the time between January 15th and April 15th. So we're almost at April 15th, and how have we done? We've made significant progress and met our target around reducing the employee ticket backlog. We made good progress on identifying the root causes and mapping out the resolution. But while that's a check and not a plus, we're still working on the timeline. And then we have struggled to fill vacancies, but we have taken some other actions to mitigate that issue. To share a little bit more about our progress on in each area, I have Marin Trujillo, our head of staff, who's been helping lead in the command center, and Dr. Candy Clark, our business services stabilization lead. Oop, let me go this way.
Good evening, commissioners. What you have in front of you is a slide that I think many of us did not believe we were going to ever see, which is the reduction in the number of tickets. As you can see, we are projected to be at 1,500 tickets by the end of April. This puts us at a point of, should I stop? Oh, okay.
Just need to upload it.
Okay, so as you can see, we're making great progress. This is in thanks to the case management team. Lots of training has allowed us to move faster in closing tickets. Although we have more tickets still coming in, our ability to close them faster, it keeps improving. So you can see that sort of downhill spiral to 1,500. Next slide. The next work is then, once we had, as that was going on, we were also developing, understanding the root causes of all these issues related to Empower. And so lots of inputs were taken into consideration, including the tickets, input from the field. That allowed A&M to develop the root causes, which then allowed it to define the symptoms, which ultimately resulted in groupings of known issues into what they're calling work packages. These work packages is a way to work smarter and not harder to fix the issues all at once in chunks. And now the next slide. We identified 15 themes, 15 work packages. The next work was to identify which ones would be the most important to address first that would have the biggest impact. So you see there the intersection on effort and impact. 4 of them rose to the top: interface, time entry, leave management, and employee payroll data management. Next slide. Where we are right now is in operationalizing the work packages. You can see there's a sequence from discovery, planning, designing the work, building the process, and then implementing and then testing. So this is the work that's in front of us to operationalize the first 4 work packages. It's a little technical, but it's a sequence meant to ensure that we're working to ensure that when the metaphor that I use is what that we've used in the past is if you're going to open the engine, make sure that you fix everything on that corner of the engine since you have it open before you move to the next one. So you don't have to go back and forth. Now I'll turn it over to Dr. Clark to talk about staffing efforts.
Good evening, commissioners. I think you've seen this slide before where we discussed the positions that the district is working to fill. We started off working actively to fill 44 positions. As of today, we have filled 12 positions. And as you see from the slide, we're short of the 44. We have 32 positions that are still outstanding to be filled. I want to point your attention to this slide because this is very important as we work to do 2 things within the system. We really need to get these positions filled. One aspect of this is filling the positions to ensure that the operational aspects of the organization are continuing to move forward. And then on the other side of that is ensuring that we have the staff that we can dedicate to Empower full-time until the project is complete. And because we have this number of vacancies that's still outstanding, this is actually impacting our ability to move many of the elements of the Empower SF project moving forward. I'm particularly concerned about the number of positions that are still outstanding in HR, technology, and business services. We are continuing to work with HR to make sure that we are utilizing an active recruitment model to recruit and attract individuals to the district. In the meantime, we are continuing with the model that we've used before, which is hiring temporary staff through Robert Half to stand us up in a couple of different areas, one area being case management, salary, payroll support, and human resources. In addition to that, we recently completed an RFP with an attempt to expand the pool of temporary staff and consultants to come into the district. I believe there were about 40 companies that submitted information for the RFP, but out of the 40, 10 emerge as qualified. And so you will see the final RFP with a recommendation for approval come to the board on April the 15th. And from there, we'll be able to continue to expand our pool of individuals that are readily available to help us fill those gaps on that previous page until, you know, we can get the permanent full-time people in the positions. I will say that while we're still using temporary staff, that's not the ideal model. We want to have the permanent staff in place within the district. The next slide is really just giving the board an update on the tax withholding issue. As of today, we have submitted all known information to the Franchise Tax Board as it relates to personal income tax, state disability insurance, and unemployment insurance. And so if there's any additional correspondence, we have yet to receive any from the state, but we will respond accordingly. And just to continue to ensure that we have done a thorough job of reviewing all of the data that was submitted, I instructed the staff to move forward to review the federal tax submissions. We're currently in the process of reviewing that data. I'm hoping by the end of this week or the first of next week, I'll be able to provide you with an update. The other thing that we did is we worked very closely with the city of San Francisco to offer financial advice to employees. And out of those conversations, we were able to engage with the tax preparation service that's able to work with employees who received a W-2C, which is a correction to their W-2, or if an employee received an overpayment letter. So I'll turn it back over to Marin, to Dr. White.
Thank you, Dr. Clark and Marin. Thank you, Dr. Clark and Marin. So that shares the progress we've made over the last 90 days. And we've also then updated what will the next 90 days look like, and have identified a few key indicators of success. So as we lower the ticket backlog, we're also finding that there are more challenging tickets and issues that have a few interdependencies. And so it's been harder to get them eliminated as quickly. So we're setting our goal to do almost again by another half, which just gets us down for below 1,000. But the other thing that's critical is that we're not letting that backlog grow. And to do that, we need to resolve new tickets when they come in as quickly as possible. So this will be a metric we'll start sharing, is how quickly we're resolving new tickets when they come in. Then also, we really want to be in the green on all indicators of success, and recognizing the challenges we've been having with recruiting. We have the temporary staff in place, so we set a target to at least reduce by half the key vacancies in these other areas. And I want to thank Dr. Clark and others who've been reaching out and trying to be creative on where we can find staff to fill these positions. And then lastly, and this is will be a key milestone for us that we think we can accomplish in the next 90 days. So I wanted to put it out there just because I really want to push us to get here. And you heard about these work packages. That really lets us know now we know what we need to do. Now we need to see how long will it take to get it done. So we're going to work on those first 4. And by doing that, we believe we can establish a timeline so that we can finally say, here's when you should expect that Empower is stabilized and we're out of the state of emergency. And so, I know people have wanted to hear that a year ago, 6 months ago, but you've been able to see the progress and the efforts we've made, and we think it's leading to this point of being able to say this after these next 90 days, because we really have scoped out what needs to be done. So I want to thank the team at the command center that have been working really hard. I want to thank our A&M partners as well for supporting this progress. And I want to thank our partners and our staff in the field. You heard UA talk tonight. They help us, and we work with them to try to resolve issues. UE has been an incredible partner in making sure we're responding to the most urgent issues, and they help surface issues that we can know are impacting people's livelihood. And so I do appreciate it's been a team effort as we move through to try to end this payroll state of emergency. So that concludes our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent and staff, for the update. Are there any comments from commissioners or questions? Okay. Yeah, why don't we start with Commissioner Lamb, and we'll go around.
Thank you to the team and for the update. I'm curious around, I know it's been an ongoing challenge with hiring, but I think it would also be helpful to understand kind of the number of days or how long it does take in order to do hiring, and what are some of the I'm going to say barriers, but and why does it take the time that it does take?
Yeah, so there's the recruitment efforts, and then there's the onboarding efforts. And actually, HR, want to appreciate the work HR has done, and I've asked them to identify the timeline and then set some targets for how to improve that. So they've been working on that and can share that information about like how long it has been taking and how we increase that process. With the classified positions, we're also working with the city, and so that extends it. But the city has been good partners as well, and is working with us to try to expedite these processes.
That's helpful because I know that at the city side, there have been directives that have been put forward to try to accelerate the hiring in the city processes. So I think that would also be helpful to shine light, because I think through this crisis, we've also learned just how intertwined our systems are with the city that might not have surfaced as more prominently. And so I think that is important for transparency. It's important to the public to also understand those processes and procedures, and why does it take the time that it does, and what is involved in that. And I appreciate Dr. Clark and the team in trying to find creative ways in the interim, while we acknowledge and recognize that temporary staff is not a long-term solution, but is absolutely necessary in order to make the progress that is needed on behalf of our staff. So I just want to say thank you. I'm curious to the work packages, and perhaps this is kind of the teeing it up, what is to follow in the next presentation. But I'd like to hear from the team here around any thing that you want to share around this particular, Dr. Clark, as you've dived deeper in this, surprises, things that you want the board to be aware of what may be more challenges of those particular priority of the 4 work packages moving forward.
Sure. So I think that the district has done a good job of surfacing all of the system fixes. So we know, where we need to go. We've identified the first 4 work packages where we want to start. The challenge is going to be as we lay it out and we start mapping out who is going to work with us on those particular projects, if there are gaps in terms of staffing. Like that's, at this point, that's what I see as the biggest barrier. So, in an ideal situation, we would love to be able to run all 4 of those work packages concurrently to speed the process up. However, with the limited amount of staff, if we start seeing the same person's name show up on 4 different packages, then that's going to tell us, well, it's not realistic to be able to run all 4 packages with 1 or 2 people holding the bulk of the work. And so Marin and I are working very closely with the IT department as well as A&M and emphasis to unpackage what elements of those work packages can we move forward without overtaxing our staff, but yet doing our best to keep those projects moving forward. That piece right there is probably the biggest challenge that we're going to have in the next 90 days to move everything forward.
Commissioner Fisher.
Yep. Thank you for getting the presentation uploaded to Board Docs. By the way, it's good to see it there. And it wasn't there before public comment, just so I don't know if that means that we do have any comments now that it's there. But I think my real comment for you, Dr. Clark, and for Mr. Trujillo is, as we're bringing on temporary employees, that seems like a potential gold mine as far as knowledge that we already have. Are we working also on moving any of those to permanent employees as the opportunity arises? What would that take? There are barriers with, taking civil service exams and things like that. What would that look like? Would that help with our staffing needs?
So yes, it could help. We've already reached out to individuals that are working with Robert Half to see if there's any interest in working for the district full time. And there has been some interest in certain areas. Those individuals that were interested have been referred over to Human Resources, and they're going through that process. And as you've said, it takes some time to move through that. The other thing that we're doing is just for any individual that we're bringing in, particularly at this juncture, that's a temporary staff, we're really trying to hit home on individuals that have certain skill sets. You've heard me talk before about, specific experience with SAP or SuccessFactors experience, particularly as it relates to either human resources, technology, or payroll. And so as we expand out, our outreach, we're trying our best to find individuals that have that level of experience, because if we find individuals that are great employees and they could help, but if they don't have that experience, guess what? We got to train them up. And that takes time. And so we're trying to do, things to mitigate the amount of time to move, employees into the organization, and then also move the project forward.
Thank you. And then my last question is, when we look at the work packages prioritization, I see that termination and retirements has a relatively low impact, except for that small number of employees who are trying to retire, who have given us so much of their time and energy and their life, frankly. So do we have any workarounds for our retirees? We're hearing from some of them who are really struggling right now so what are we doing until we actually fix that to make sure that they can retire with dignity?
So as a project, we already have, I'm just going to use STRS for example. We already have a project that is currently underway to look at STRS contributions going back to January 2022. And so for any individual who have retired during that time, or who may plan to retire, within, this year, the goal is to be able to look at their accounts, reconcile their accounts, and make corrections directly to STRS. That doesn't mean that we won't have to go back and make adjustments in the system, but it's really more like two tracks, right? Yes, there may be some system fixes that need to happen, but the reconciliation of the accounts, as long as we can extract the data, do the reconciliation, we can still upload that information and any corrections to STRS. And I envision PERS would be the same in terms of process. Well, it's not PERS here, it's SFRS, CFRS, what, okay.
Thank you.
I would just quickly add that, go ahead, Dr. Just that although you see in that quadrant that some things are low effort, nothing is low, right? So there's a very strategic work done that of all the things that could be done, those four will have the biggest impact and will create a trickle effect where the rest of the work packages will make it easier to resolve them. So it's a little bit of pain at the beginning to have an easier journey as we move forward. Yeah.
I was just going to say, we have, when there is an individual issue that might get a ticket related to retirement or benefits, like we are still addressing those. This is describing the system fixes that sometimes, it doesn't lead to it for everybody, but leads to it for some of those individuals.
Thank you for that clarification.
Seeing no other comments from commissioners, we will transition to our next board item. Thank you so much to staff.
Thank you.
But before we go to our next item, which is consent calendar, I wanted to make some corrections to the readout from closed session. So I wanted to indicate that in our report out for closed session, and the matters that we spoke about, the two absent members were Commissioner Matamati and Sanchez. And in regards to matter number 2023020065, the one member that abstained was Commissioner Fisher. And so we wanted to correct the record just to make that clear. And also wanted to indicate that I misread the level of one of the students facing expulsion. For expulsion number 24, it is an elementary school student and not a high school student, as I had previously said. So I just wanted to update that as we move forward. And with those corrections, we will move to item H. Could I have a motion and a second on the consent calendar?
Second.
Any items withdrawn or corrected by the superintendent at this time?
No.
Can we have a roll call vote on the consent calendar?
Yes. Commissioner Alexander. Yes. Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy, Commissioner Sanchez, Vice President Wiseman Ward,
Yes.
President Bogus.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Thank you for that. And with that, we will go to item I, which is the consent calendar retroactive contracts. Can I have a motion and a second for the retroactive contract?
So moved.
Second.
Any items withdrawn or corrected by the superintendent at this time?
No.
With that, we will have a roll call vote on this item.
Thank you. Commissioner Alexander. Yes. Commissioner Fisher,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy, Commissioner Sanchez, Vice President Wiseman Ward,
Yes.
President Bogus.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Thank you for that. And with that, we will transition to item J, which is a discussion item. J1, comprehensive coordinated early intervention services presentation. And I will pass it to the superintendent to designate staff to report.
Thank you. We have Janice Jones Mitchell, our CSACE coordinator, and Margaret Ferrugio, our Director of Special Education, here to present. Before they present, though, I just want to share, as the presentation is getting on the screen, want to share just some reflections about this. We are presenting our Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Services Plan. This is a plan we need to present because we have been found significantly disproportionate. We have found that we're referring students in a way that's significantly disproportionate. In this case, our Black students to special education for emotional disturbance or other health impairment, as well as for discipline issues. And so we've needed to work for a few years on this plan, and we're actually presenting the 2022 plan. But what I just wanted to share before starting is this is the first plan we're presenting that we are presenting after having gone through our process to adopt goals for student learning, as well as our guardrails on how we're going to meet those goals, particularly our guardrail around serving the whole child. And so it's been really interesting and has afforded us an opportunity to see how are we going to make sure that we're aligning our work towards those goals. So everything's focused on our goals, even when sometimes that work is driven by requirements that are outside the district. And so we've been going through the planning process that's required by CSACE, but in doing that, we've also been considering how do we incorporate our goals and guardrails and and as well as the actions we're starting to plan to meet those goals and guardrails. And so we've been talking about that. And since the first draft of this plan, you're going to see some shifts that we're presenting tonight to start working in the way that we've committed to around our goals and guardrails. And so the three main shifts you're going to see is first, just if the CSACE requires that you have outcomes, we wanted to have those be measurable outcomes that are SMART goals, like how our goals for student learning are. Second, you'll see the team has done a good job aligning the outcomes and actions to our goals and guardrails. So we're all clear on where the connections are and how that's supporting our overall work as a district. And then third, they've been working to make sure that the actions are connected to our broader plans, like around literacy or our use of the core rubric, where we're defining what classroom instruction should look like and what we say is tier 1 across all classrooms, because we want to make sure that this isn't one more thing, but everything that we're doing is in ultimately support of our broader goals, but then taking that targeted approach that we need here to make sure we're serving the students who we haven't been serving as well as necessary. So that's just a little reflections and introduction to this. It won't take their time for the presentation, and I'll turn it over, I think, to Janice first.
Thank you. Well,
Please turn your mic on if it is.
And
Yes. Okay, thank you. Can you go back one? Thank you. CSAE stands for Comprehensive Coordinated Early Intervening Services. It is a sanction and regulation in the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It also requires 15% of the federal IDA grant money to be set aside to invest in general education to interrupt disproportionality. In SFUSD, significant disproportionality is 3 or more years of disproportionate representation of African-American Black students in special education under the eligibilities of emotional disturbance, other health impairment, and for disciplinary actions. Next slide. This comprehensive CSACE plan is a part of a larger puzzle within the SFUSD system. It is anchored in the adopted board goals and guardrails with much input from our educational partners, community members, parents, and district representatives. The red puzzle piece is indicative of the togetherness we must hear and heed from the lived experiences of our students and families. The last piece of the puzzle is the approval of the plan by the CDE to be able to release the funding to begin implementation of the plan. This shared understanding takes place and takes things into consideration for the assets of all.
Next slide, Alicia. Thanks. So the CSACE process involves 4 phases, which is drawn out there. And maps plan development. CDE monitors this through quarterly progress reports. This is bothering me. Later, Janice will elevate how this process informed the measurable outcomes in the activities that are detailed in the plan. Okay, thank you. I like hearing that. The 2022 CSACE plan is complete through phase 3, the blue box. After tonight's meeting, we will submit the plan to the CDE for approval. With this approval, we'll start phase 4, which is implementation and evaluation of our progress. Next slide. So this slide is actually multiple screenshots from our significant disproportionality reports that the CDE generates on an annual basis. It shows only the 3rd year of this disproportionality. See the red box? It outlines the column of African-American student data compared to other ethnicities. Please note that the district is disproportionate, any district is disproportionate when the ratio of a student group within a disability area is above the threshold of 3. You'll see they also mark it with an OVR. In March of 22, SFUSD was notified for the disproportionate number of African-American students, again, identified for special education under the eligibilities ED, OHI, and for being disciplined. This was also true in 2020 and in 2021.
Our CSACE focal site selection this year has 7 elementary, 5 middle, 4 high schools, and 2 early ed schools. Our CSACE Rising Scholars by Race and Ethnicity total 388 scholars. If you want more detail, feel free to click on the links in these slides. Next slide. Our rising scholars have particular specifications required by CDE on this slide, 2 of which I'll illuminate. The African-American Black scholars selected must be the majority, but not 100% of the group. Additionally, the African-American Black students selected have been underserved and will be provided additional supports in the educational setting. Next slide. CSACE is situated under the umbrella of the superintendent's mission statement of knowing each and every rising scholar by name. Our plan incorporates a shift to case management, which focuses on knowing each and every CSA scholar by name and names and aligns with the CDE. Next slide. CSAFE's plan is an early intervention service and will support the furthering of the district goals. Next slide. And within the promising conditions of the guardrails. Next one, next.
Okay.
Remember the 4 phases that Margaret referenced in the CSA's process? Phase 1 and 2 culminated in the full day of the Success Summit, which some of you participated. This led to the selection of the root causes and the development of the success gaps that inform the staff actions and how the district throughout this plan will measure the student outcomes. Note the through line from the root causes to the staff actions to student outcomes, which are our CSA's planned measurable outcomes. There is a footnote at the bottom of each slide, including the goals and guardrails in which the CSA's plan objectives are built upon. The first measurable outcome is tied to academics. Next slide. The second measurable outcome is tied to decrease suspensions and out of class time. Our third measurable outcome is to increase attendance. Measurable outcome number 4 is to increase our family partnerships. Measurable outcome number 5 addresses the need to update our policies, practices, and procedures to align with the needs of our students. Next slide. Thank you for your partnership in this very important CSA's work.
Thank you so much for your presentation. What we'll do right now is we'll take comments from commissioners. I think I'll go first and then we'll go to Vice President Weisenborn and then we'll go around. Thank you so much for your presentation and for all your hard work. I think the thing I guess that I'm struggling with, and I don't know if staff or the superintendent is best to address it. This is something that I feel like we've been working for a long time in the district and we've put a lot of resources and energy and I think like great minds to help solve the problem. And it seems like we're still struggling with it in a lot of ways. And I guess I'm curious what extra or in addition is needed for us, I think, to kind of get to a different place around this issue, especially focusing on our African-American students and kind of knowing the issues that they're facing both in the special education programming, but also kind of throughout the district. And so I guess just like understanding we have a plan that we're getting ready to implement that is like our best thinking forward and not trying to, I guess, devalue all the hard work and energy that went into that. But I guess I'm wondering if there's anything above and beyond that we as a board should be aware of or additional commitments that we kind of need to make as a district to ensure that we're finally able to kind of turn the corner on this issue, which is something I feel like we've been wrestling with for a very, very long time here in our district.
Yeah, our team could speak more to the actions we're taking. I think for me, I'll say and appreciate Janice mentioned this, each and every by name. So our mission is that each and every child receives the instruction they need to thrive in the 21st century. And when you look at the number of students we're talking about, we feel like it's important to be tracking each one of them by name to understand what their needs are and where we could provide additional support, and frankly, to have accountability around the work. And so we recognize at the district level, we're not in the schools, but we're there to support the schools and to give them tools to be able to make improvements. And so when you look at the more detailed plans, you'll see there's opportunities for regular reviews of the data to see how our interventions are working and other actions are working, and then to offer alternatives. So I think one of our our beliefs of what's going to be different is that level of intentionality and focus and accountability to track the progress of these particular students. If Janice and Margaret want to add more, feel free.
So this past year was the first year that we were able to actually start to go to scale with the plan and hired a staff. And we had Janice, of course, leading with the three admin that serves the K-5, the K-12 sites. And then we have an early ed administrator and we have a family liaison as well. In addition, we have support from we've hired a policy and data analyst that works out of RPA with Ritu's group. So we have more to dig into to build off of this year. And with that, that case management was a really sort of beautiful dovetailing because the CDE is also reflecting a lot on how they are monitoring and what their expectations are. So now that we have our people, now we can build our relationships at the school sites and have those conversations so that the relationships and the nature of the conversations and expectations that our staff is having with our families and with our kids might start shifting so that we're thinking more from asset. We're not thinking about, do we need to do a referral, but how can I be different in this room as the adult in this room? So I think that we're really at a really positive place to move. We were stuck. I know I've been working, if you don't mind, I'm kind of do first names, but Kevin and Alita, you guys have been coming to the CSACE plan since, work since 2020. I believe we had a meeting in February, about 2 weeks before everything shut down. And then we have been really keeping the course, but being able to work through the pandemic and keep this alive and keep it moving, I feel good about. I'm really hopeful that we can get to the next place. We are going to have it I probably shouldn't say this, but we on the heels of this, we are gearing up to write our 2023 plan. We have been notified that we have a 2023 plan to write. So I don't want that to be a surprise when we come and see you in November.
No, thank you for that. I appreciate the thorough answer. And I guess I would just say from my perspective on the board, this issue and this effort is a top priority. And I think in a lot of ways, failure is not acceptable. And so I think for us to figure out how we can get from where we are currently and where we have been to success, and it seems like we have a plan and we're developing the next plan to get us there. I think the thing that I worry about are the things that kind of exist outside of the plan. Like, how do we ensure that we have enough paraprofessionals available to support all these kids in these school sites? How do we ensure that all the IEPs are being followed with fidelity and consistency at the school sites? And so I think for me, it's really about how do we get to that next level of plan, implementation, follow through. And I guess I just want to say for us as the board, I think we're really interested in ensuring that you are successful. So I think if there's obstacles or challenges, let us know, let the superintendent know. So I think if we see obstacles and challenges and we don't hear from you, we're going to come to you and ask you to explain why we're seeing these things. So I think right now our expectation is that we're going to see a lot more progress than we have been, and all the hard work that we have been doing leading up to now paying off in a lot more ways than we have seen, I think, thus far. I will close my comment there and I will go to Vice President Wiseman-Ward.
Thank you. I'll start off by just echoing and confirming President Bogus's one of his last statements said this is absolutely a top priority. It has to be. And so, I think I'll speak for myself, but I think I can speak for the board. President Bogus already spoke as well that, whatever we can do as a board to support this work and to ensure that maybe November will be the last time we're in this position. I will say, and I want to I want to transition now into a couple appreciations, and then I have a question. So I was able to attend the All Day Summit at the end of January and was really blown away by what was so clear is a steadfast commitment to this work, to making sure that all of our students, in particular our African-American students, are in learning environments where they are supported, where they're able to thrive, where they are allowed to be their best versions of themselves. And so I really appreciated the community and the space that was that summit. I also really appreciate that this shifts from, I think, the earlier versions of the presentation to this really show that I think what we're looking for, which is a continued de-siloed approach, and moving to a coordinated approach. I think that is how we're gonna, if we're gonna be able to get this work done, it's got to be in a coordinated and intentional fashion. And also really appreciate the alignment with the goals, because I think if we're doing good things, but they're going all these different ways, we're not going to be efficient and probably not going to make the achievements that we need to make. So my question is, I'm looking at the significant disproportionality slide. I think it's slide 5. And looking at the ratios, and I understand that 3 is the threshold in terms of being under state watch. And to me, if we're 2.999, that's still too much if everything else is 1.5. So I'm wondering, in terms of the work and the plans, is it likely that we will see these ratios if we're able to implement with fidelity, and if you all have the supports that we need, and the school sites have the supports that we need, can we get those numbers down so that they look like the other ones? So for example, other health impairment, Asian 0.34, African-American 3.49, Hispanic 1.19, multiple ethnicities 1.15, Pacific Islander 1.31. Can we bring that to 1.2? That's just a random number, but I guess I'm asking, 2.8 or 2.9 doesn't feel like that's good enough if everything else is below 2.
So addressing that number, it's kind of twofold. Because I know we've been discussing, it's often said our referrals are too high. It's also the fact that we also, once a student gets an IEP, they seldom leave the IEP. So that number could be reduced by also changing the experience of being on an IEP. The idea that a student would be welcomed back or be part of the general ed population and having success even with an IEP in general ed, as opposed to being seen as the student on the IEP that needs to stay in the day class. So there's a lot of, siloing in the way that we think about the categorization of having that IEP. So I want to emphasize that the first part is, let's reduce the knee-jerk reaction to refer a student for an IEP when the student's not learning. What reflection process has been happening at the school site at large, the community that the student is in, and what's happening in that classroom in the relationship between, the teacher and the student, the teacher and the dynamics of that classroom. So really reflecting on that, and maybe that, and then having the parent be actually sitting at the table with the school as a whole, and having a comfortable conversation, a mutually caring conversation around how can we improve the experience that your child is having. What can we do? What can we learn from you? As opposed to being a prescriptive relationship. Can we do this? Do this? This didn't happen. This didn't, oh, I guess we need to refer. So, I mean, I might be oversimplifying, but if we can change just the quality of those conversations and the way that we think, I do think that these numbers will go down. Will they go down by next year to this amount? That 4.11 is pretty scary. And our discipline numbers for the way that our students are disciplined, particularly those on IEPs, it isn't getting better. If you look at the Dispro numbers that came through for us for the 2023. So I don't mean to sound, I'm concerned, and I do. I mean, I've been around this for a long time and I would very much like to see us be able to make a change for what we say we stand for.
Commissioner Alexander, then we'll go Commissioner Fisher.
I'll just echo my colleagues, the gratitude for this excellent work and for the continued revision and attempts to kind of be more coordinated and holistic in your approach. And I think the one thing I think I wanted to ask about, or love to hear a little bit more about, is actually what, Margaret, you were just kind of referring to kind of the cultural, what I would kind of describe as the social cultural conditions of the classroom, right? And so I love the idea of the individualized case management, but that only is a piece, right? You could have a great case management, and if the classroom or the school environment still is not providing, well, as you said, the root cause, if there's still systemic racism and anti-Blackness, if there's still a lack of consistent instructional practices and culturally relevant intervention strategies, if there's still a lack of consistent intervention practices and inequitable strategic behavior support, if those things are still present in the environment of the school, it's going to be, I'm sure you would agree, really, really challenging, right, for those young people to succeed. And so I'm curious, as you all think about it, you have a team, and it's great that you now have a better staff team, but what are the sort of cultural shifts that need to happen, whether it's in LEAD, in the schools, in the system? From your point of view, what are sort of the systemic cultural shifts that would need to happen outside of the individual case management for this to be effective? And I know that's a big question, but I just wanted to hear a little bit of your thinking on it, because I think, again, and maybe you're thinking on it, but I mean, I think just so that, again, it's not, I know you know this, it's not just this one team, but it's like, how do we think about their role in relationship with the district as a whole?
Right. And I was clearing my throat because I actually had to clear my throat, but not just to say, look at me. But yeah, but knowing I was going to say something, so I figured, no, but, and again, the team can respond. But so one evidence of the kind of cultural shifts we need is actually who's behind the team. You have our director of our African American Achievement Leadership Initiative, our interim head of pre-K to elementary schools, and our head of special education. Oh, and our head of RPA right there. And and they're there because this work is not can't be done in silos, right? So that's where, when you heard me share that reflection, like figuring out what that alignment looks like. So part of what it looks like is just people recognizing, even though this isn't my presentation, I'm part of this work and being here for that. So thank you all for being here. And then secondly, when we're working on initiatives, have them not being separate initiatives. So you've maybe have heard me talk about the Each and Every Child by Name around our goal around literacy for kindergartners, because we have 225 approximately Black and Pacific Islander kindergartners. So it's that same concept. What we realize is, well, those are different kids who are targeted in CSACE, but we could use the same idea. So we're not having like one CSACE dashboard, one kindergarten literacy dashboard, then another dashboard for math, and another, but like that we're creating a way of being that, like, this is how we're going to approach the targeted universalism aspect of the work. So those are two examples I wanted to share with how we're doing it, and can turn it over to the team if they have more.
I would just say, I heard you both mention coordinated efforts. Those come from you as well as everyone that you just mentioned behind me. So we are working more together. We are working more aligned. When adjustments need to happen, they're happening in the moment, and it makes the difference. So I believe, and this is my default, so I know and have in every part of my being that this is going to work. Like you said, this is important work for you. This is priority work, and it's priority work for me and my team. So some of those staff actions that you talked about from those root causes, like providing and monitoring anti-racist bias training and coaching to honor student voice, that's something we're going to make sure happens. We are also coming to the understanding that equity is not extra. It is something that needs to happen for each and every one of our students. And CSACE sits on top of what we are doing at our tier 1 level.
Thank you for your comments.
Tier 2 and tier 3 as well.
Commissioner Fisher, did you have comments?
Oh, I have lots. So thank you all for this very, very, very important work. And yes, I've been attending for a few years. And I want to thank the CAC for Special Education and the African American Parent Advisory Council as well. These root causes that are listed here came out of a lot of work with the African American parents in our district who shared their trauma and their pain with the team for free. So thank you all for that. I am really enjoying seeing this work be moved forward. The first few years of participating in the work were actually very frustrating. I would attend meetings over at the beach, over at 3045 Santiago, and watch as Margaret and colleagues would present data to other peers who were there to check boxes as they were on their computers answering emails instead of participating. So to be here with the support of district leadership, really wanting to do this work is a refreshing change. So thank you. We still have a lot of work to do as far as bringing people in. I want to go back to one of the things we love to say around here a lot: student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change.
That's right.
And so we have a lot of work to do in that area. And also, if you go back to looking at the areas of disproportionality, one of the things that stands out to me as a special education advocate is the categories we're seeing are emotional disturbance and other health impairment. Those are behavior focused categories. What we're not seeing is our brilliant Black scholars being identified for a specific learning difference when they're struggling to read because they have dyslexia. We're missing the academic struggles that our children are having, and we're seeing the behaviors that come after the fact. And to me, that really is something that I can't overemphasize enough. I'm also frustrated that we take 15% from the special education department and put it into gen ed when gen ed is the root of the problem. That makes no sense to me. Why aren't we taking 15% from gen ed and putting it into SPED or putting into OLLI or putting it somewhere else to actually drive change? And along that lines, when we talk about doing it differently, we need to talk about accountability and transparency. So we've asked questions about how do we make it work this time? I would say we really need to tie the outcomes that we want into our district level goals. If you look at our reading goal, in our focal populations that are mentioned in our interim goals, we don't see students receiving special education services anywhere. We don't see students with IEPs. Same thing with math, same thing with college and career readiness. If we want someone to drive this work from a coordinated standpoint, then we need someone at an organizational chart level that can do that, like a SELPA director or a special education director who is at a cabinet level and can drive this work. When I look at the corresponding data here, when I look at the second document, the measurable outcomes final document that's attached on board docs with this, I look at our measurable outcomes and activities. And when you see the last column, funding sources and types of expenditures, I see a whole lot of actions, but I don't see a whole lot of resources aligned behind them to make the work happen. And I think that is a huge glaring error. If we really want to do this work, we need to put our money where our mouth is and align the resources to make it happen. I could go on, but I think that's enough for now. So thank you for all the work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lamb.
Thank you to the team for this tremendous work. I just echo what my colleagues have raised, and just on the theme of thank you, Commissioner Fisher, for raising the alignment of resources. And that's a call to action, I think, for the superintendent, as we are moving forward with the budget planning. I know that's been something that this board has been raising is, while certainly it's going to be a ramp up of aligning our budget to matching our goals. And at the same time, I think we haven't landed on what that progression looks like yet. so that, if we are serious about making some significant impact, particularly with CSIS, that we're going to need to be able to align and be able to name, and for the transparency to the public, and through this board as representatives of the community and our district's values, so that we can measure those resources to making that impact. I think I also more broadly have questions around and just more of a point rather than a question, but I'm very intrigued around the early ed work because of our expansion that we know as a district we'll be taking on through our transitional kindergarten. But I'm seeing, where there's actually 0 listed for the funding resources and types. Early ed is an area I think I'm very curious around the alignment of resources, and knowing that there is dollars through the universal pre-kindergarten funding through the state. I'd be intrigued to understand how much of those restricted dollars are being more fully leveraged and utilized. I think that's just overall, again, to the superintendent and to the budget team, just to understand not only that the alignment of the resources to the goals, but how are we further leveraging our dollars so that we can for our restricted dollars and not relying on general funds when we know that those can be leveraged through different types of, especially historical investments like we're getting through the state right now. So again, those are just some overall comments, and just thank you all for the tremendous work. I look forward to the continued alignment and monitoring that we'll get a chance to reflect on.
Once again, thank you to staff for your presentation and all of your hard work. And with that, we will close out this discussion item.
Okay. Thank you, and appreciate the comments from the commissioners. And with Alicia getting up, I noticed we also had Marisha Robinson here as well. She was hidden there. Yeah, and just again, appreciate the team effort. And you will be hearing more about our progress in this important work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go to item K, which are our action items. We have 2 of them. We'll start with action item K1, which is the management salary schedule. Can I have a motion, a second for this item?
So moved.
All right, whatever.
Second.
Okay, we have our second. Thank you so much. I will pass it to the superintendent to introduce the designee to read the recommendation into the record and to, I think, explain.
Yeah, actually, for the next one. All right, okay. If we can have the first the slide brought up with the organization slide first. Okay, so the board, as we've been working on being student outcomes focused and organizing our board meetings a bit differently, we've talked about what should be on consent and what should be action items and discussion items. So for example, you may have noticed that you did not have to take action on the CSACE plan. So it is required, though, by the state to include the plan and present the plan to the Board of Education, but it could just be included in the informational items. It doesn't need to be presented or approved. But this is an issue that we know is important to the commissioners and to our community, so we felt it was appropriate to share and discuss. There are other items that, again, we've had where people have asked, like, why is this on action? Why couldn't this be on consent or vice versa? So there's another area that needs to be on action per board policy as well as California Ed Code. California Government Code requires that when the salary, when an executive is getting a contract or their salary is being discussed, that it needs to, the recommendation needs to be read aloud prior to the board taking action. And that's done typically when like we bring forward an executive contract such as a superintendent's contract, that's happened. But then the government code defines what an executive is. And so it's beyond just a superintendent. It's usually any in the government what's called department heads, as well as assistant department heads or anyone who's on a contract. Similarly, the Board of Education has a policy that for administration, the board will maintain a salary schedule. And so then if changes to the salary schedule are going to be made, that is, again, an action item that's noted in public. And so tonight we're bringing forward for the management salary schedule, we're adding 2 columns. And wanted to explain why and give a little context to that. So all you're voting on tonight are those 2 columns, but thought it'd be helpful to understand where those are coming from. So as part of the budget planning process and working towards our goals and guardrails, I had shared I'm doing a reorganization of the district, and it shared about reorganizing senior leadership. And here is what senior leadership looked like before this year, because this year has been a transition year. And what you see here is we had an organization chart with various levels where it's not always clear what the roles and responsibilities are, what the reporting lines are. So for example, the superintendent had deputies reporting to him, as well as heads of different departments reporting to him. But then also heads would report to deputies, and heads would also report to other heads. And then assistant superintendents reported to a deputy. And so again, it wasn't fully clear where, what the roles and again, the lines of responsibility. So in an effort to streamline that, this is what I had presented at our board workshop, and then I'm also presenting like the what we call the assistant, the level below, just the deputies are the ones who report directly to the superintendent. So you see, I don't have deputies. I have what are associate superintendents. Those are leading our 5 divisions, and we have a new schools division. We have ed services, human resources, business services, and operations. And then, so they're all responsible for what that area, as the name implies. So the schools are leading the schools division, ed services, and are all the programming that support the schools, like curriculum and instruction, special education. Human resources is clear, business services, and that's where technology goes. And operations then are like our facilities, student nutrition services, transportation, education placement center, all that. And then head of staff, head of communications, and head of research planning and accountability, those aren't divisions, those work across the divisions. So that's why they're heads. And then you also see the changes that's resulted in having fewer senior leaders. So just wanted to share that context. And then if you can go to the salary schedule. So 2 things. One, we eliminated that's interesting. So not moving forward right now with any deputy positions. And so since the associate superintendent is, we had it a long time ago, actually, when I was here 10 years ago, we had an associate, but we didn't have a salary schedule for it. So we needed to add that line. And then the other line, the grade 5 is for like a senior executive director position. So this is below assistant superintendent. And so we're actually, I've been taking some of the positions that have been heads and having them be at different levels. Again, just trying to streamline and have fewer at that senior leadership level. And so having that senior executive director position gives us that flexibility. So that's all you're voting on tonight, those 2 columns. But again, wanted to put it in context because in your next item, we have some of the contracts for some of those positions, and then we don't have it for all the positions. And so those will be coming in May. And so then hopefully you understand where these are coming from. So that's the formal recommendation is that the Board of Education approves grade 5 and grade 8 on the unrepresented management salaries table.
Thank you, Superintendent. Are there comments or questions from commissioners at this time? Commissioner Alexander, please.
I just want to say how excited I am about this. I think my colleagues know this is something I've been really interested in ever since I've been on the board, actually, is just noticing, having seen over the last decade plus in SFUSD, how the upper management really grew in the district. And I think not through bad intentions, but things kept getting added and kind of cobbled together. And I think resulting in that previous slide that we saw. And I think we've been long needing a thoughtful reorganization and reevaluation, and just really want to appreciate you, Superintendent Wayne, for taking the time to do that really thoughtfully. And I think just approaching it in the new organization, while there may be tweaks we can make and other things, I mean, I think just it's much more streamlined, and it's much more in line with what other effective school districts around California have done, as someone who's looked into this a bit. And we've shared notes on org charts. And I know the superintendent has done a lot of comparison with his colleagues, other superintendents. And so I just really want to appreciate that work. And I think it's going to set us up for success. We're not actually operating yet under this, because these are kind of people that are going to be hired moving into next year, but I think it's going to make a big difference in terms of our work moving forward. So thank you.
I actually had a question for you, Superintendent. Could you speak a little bit more to, I guess, the competitive nature of the salary scales in the table, and kind of, I guess, the thoughts and considerations of that going into it, if that was a factor at all?
Yeah, so I think one of the things for the grade 5 in the previous, that grade didn't exist. There was a big jump between what was the executive director and the assistant superintendent position. And so this gives, again, some middle ground where we could have people without being at because again, the senior levels like assistant superintendent and above. And then for the associate superintendent, that we did talk with leadership associates, work with other districts and what's comparable. And so this is a range that makes us competitive, but still for San Francisco and being the Bay Area, it's still, there's other districts that are even more competitive, but this is more, this gives us a chance at least to get the right folks in.
All right, thank you for that. And with that, we'll have a roll call vote.
Thank you. On the management salary schedule, Commissioner Alexander.
Yes.
Commissioner Fisher.
Abstain.
Commissioner Lamb.
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy. Commissioner Sanchez. Vice President Wiseman Ward.
Yes.
President Bogus.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes.
Thank you. And with that, we will go to item K2, employment contracts for district executive employees. Can I have a motion, a second on that?
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
So as I shared in the previous one, for when there's executive contracts, those need to be brought forward, and then there's guidelines for how those need to be presented to the board before and to the public before the board takes action. Just know this is a first batch of executive contracts. The ones that are coming forward on the senior leadership team that I had shared are the head of staff, head of our research planning and accountability, head of communications, and associate superintendent of schools. We're still going through the process for the other ones, so that we're anticipating to bring those back ideally May 9th. And then there's 2 other groups. You, I think, heard me say in the budget department, in the budget meeting, that in the areas of general administration, which is like human resources, payroll, those areas we don't want to make reductions. And so you see a group of certificated human resources administrators. And then also research planning, accountability. These are all grant funded positions, and they're not like the grant funded, Title I that could be used. So, they're specifically to support research planning and accountability. So we're bringing those forward now as well. And so our legal counsel, Manuel Martinez, will go through the formal process of sharing the information that needs to be shared before the board can take action.
Thank you, Superintendent. Commissioners, so what's going to be presented here, I'm going to read through several of these contracts. You're going to hear the details. And I would recommend that you, at the end of that reading, adopt en masse the contracts with 3 typographical errors that I'm going to correct at the end. So you're going to hear 3 typographical errors that are going to be corrected at the end. So I'm going to begin. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Tamatrice Rice Mitchell, Associate Superintendent. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Tamatrice Rice Mitchell, Demetrius. My apologies, Demetrius Rice Mitchell, Associate Superintendent, will be salary grade 8, step 4 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Chris Armentrout, Director. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Chris Armentrout, Director, will be salary grade 3, step 8 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Ruby Nee, Director. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Ruby Nee, Director, will be salary grade 3, step 7 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Jenny Jimenez Payne, Executive Director. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Jenny Jimenez Payne, Executive Director, will be salary grade 4, step 7 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Sandra Phillips Sved, Executive Director. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Sandra Phillips Sved, Executive Director, will be salary grade 4, step 8 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Hong Mei Pang, Head of Communications and External Affairs. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Hong Mei Pang, Head of Communications and External Affairs, will be salary grade 7, step 2 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Ritu Kahana, Head of Research Planning Accountability. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Ritu Kahana, Head of Research Planning and Accountability, will be salary grade 7, step 8 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Marin Trujillo, Head of Staff. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Marin Trujillo, Head of Staff, will be salary grade 7, step 5 of the management salary schedule. I would like to read the final 3 with notations as to the corrections proposed. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Lena Van Haren, Director. With this agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Lena Van Haren, Director, will be salary grade 3, and this is the correction, step 8 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Margaret Farrugio, Director. This agreement will commence on July 1st, 2023 and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Margaret Farrugio, Director, will be salary grade 3, step, here is the correction, 8 of the management salary schedule. The board will consider approving an employment agreement with Jess Reyes, Executive Director. This agreement will commence on July first, 2023, and run through June 30th, 2024. The salary placement for Jess Reyes Executive Director will be salary grade 4, step, and here's the correction, 7 of the management salary schedule. The recommendation is that the board adopts those aforementioned contracts with the aforementioned 3 clerical corrections.
Thank you so much. And with that, we will take comments from board members. I'll start with myself. Superintendent, I was wondering, as we bring forth these names, not to go through one by one, but if you could just talk a little bit about, I guess, your judgment and kind of offering these people positions with the district and I guess your hope for their effectiveness to continue with us.
Yes, speak, I'm glad to kind of welcome back we have continuing staff who have been working really hard. And so the way, just to speak a little bit about for the process, for the senior leadership team that has been team members that I've been working with. And so recommending that they continue, that's Dr. Kana, Marin Trujillo, and Hong Mei Peng. And then the Associate Superintendent of Schools is a new position. So we've gone through a process we did an applications and an interview, and was very pleased to select Demetrius Rice Mitchell, who has a long history in our schools. I think knows everybody in our schools and they all know her. So it was a good fit. And then I rely on division and department leaders to make recommendations moving forward for other staff to move forward. And we do have, our evaluation processes and look at people's performance. And so, but I've worked with all these people as well and have confidence in their ability to lead. So if it's returning, it's recommendations by their supervisor. And if new, we go through the process to hire.
Thank you for that. Any additional comments from commissioners? I also want to confirm that we did move and second this item already.
Yes, we did.
Okay. Any other comments from commissioners? If not, why don't we go ahead and have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. On the employment contracts for district executive employees, Commissioner Alexander. Yes. Commissioner Fisher,
Abstain.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yes.
Commissioner Matomedy, Commissioner Sanchez, Vice President Wiseman Ward,
Yes.
President Bogus.
Yes.
That's 4 ayes, passes.
Right. Thank you so much. And with that, we will go to item L, board member reports. Seeing no reports from board members at this time, we will move to item M, which is me adjourning this meeting at 10:26, and we are officially adjourned.